In particular, the Minister is being asked to focus on details as it relates to a former UDR member believed to have been involved in a number of murders, including that of Donegal councillor Eddie Fullerton. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin was speaking during statements on the collusion allegations contained in the report. He said the finding deserves close examination and a full response from government.
In early 1991, the RUC found documentation on large numbers of Republicans in the home of Person J. He was released on bail a short period after that. In the period that he was released on bail, he was a key suspect in 2 murders, that of Councillor Eddie Fullerton and that of Tommy Donaghy, who is a member of Sinn Féin.
And work on a long-awaited one-way system in the heart of Letterkenny is set to begin next month. The traffic system was first proposed in 2018 but had been stalled due to funding constraints. Donegal County Council has confirmed that the necessary funding has now been allocated, with construction due to start at the end of March. The project includes changing the traffic flow in the town from St Eunan's Cathedral to St Columcille National School, St Eunan's College and Scolwarrigan Small. Cahirla of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, Councillor Jimmy Kavanagh, says once complete it will have huge benefits.
It's good news, and particularly for residents up around College Road there and so on. You know, it's very dangerous up there with the two-way system, and also with so many schools in the area. You know, it's good news. It's good news for them as well, and it's good news for students at the secondary schools and pupils at the national schools as well. And
very cold this morning with icy stretches possible on untreated surfaces. There will be sunny spells and scattered showers of sleet, snow and hail, and the potential for isolated thunderstorms. Temperatures of just 4 to 6 degrees. We're back with more at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
We all deserve a better work-life balance.
But not all of us have the space to work from home.
Connected Hubs brings together flexible workspaces across Ireland on one simple website.
So you can quickly and easily find a hub in your local area.
It's everything you want from an office without the lengthy commute.
Meaning you don't have to trade quality of life for quality of workspace.
Give yourself space. Visit connectedhubs.ie or download the app to discover a hub near you.
Connected Hubs is part of Our Rural Future, a Government of Ireland initiative.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
And a very good morning to you. It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Donal Kavanagh with you until, as the name suggests, 12 noon today. It's a Thursday, so it's going to be a busy one with the local papers that we're going to get to in just a minute. We have a lot lined up in terms of discussion on the programme this morning, but don't forget, it's your views and your perspectives are at the absolute core of this programme. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can text us on 086 60 25,000. That number good for WhatsApp messages as well. You can call us, of course, on 074 91 25,000. Caroline taking your calls and producing the show this morning as ever as well. You can call on 00353 74 91 25,000 if you're outside the dialing area. Email is comments@highlandradio.com. You can contact us via social media. We're at Highland Radio on Twitter, Highland Hub on Facebook. And don't forget, if you're on Facebook, you can watch the show on Facebook Live. That means you can see the numerous Zoom interviews that we'll be doing over the course of the morning live on the screen as they appear during the discussion. You can also listen, of course, online, and you can watch the show on our YouTube channel as well. So lots of areas in which you can watch the show. So you can watch the show, you can participate in the show, and all due to the glories of technology, which are great. The Donegal News this morning, anger at rezoning plans. Conor Sharkey writes that councillors refused to approve Letterkenny plan over concerns. There was a lengthy discussion about this issue at the reconvened meeting of council that took place in Letterkenny on Monday. Councillors concerned about a number of issues, including the zoning of land around Leck in the south of Letterkenny, the flood management and flood protection plans in the future, and that long-awaited meeting with the OPW is still to happen, and there's been a lot of discussion about that. Also concerns about the designation of wetlands as well, and several issues being raised by members. So before they put the plan out to public consultation, they're going to have more discussions, and hopefully they want to meet with the OPW as well. Also, an interesting headline on the side banner of the Donegal News, Relay for Life this weekend. Now, it's not Relay for Life itself that's taking place this weekend, it's Relay for Life conference that's taking place in the Mandarigal Hotel, and you may have heard the Irish Cancer Society's head of research, Dr. Rob O'Connor, on with Greg earlier in the week. So it's not Relay for Life itself taking place this weekend, that's taking place on the 28th and 29th of May, as ever. To be quite honest, in this weather, I wouldn't want to be tramping around outdoors walking a track for 24 hours under any circumstances. So no, Relay itself takes place in May, but it is a conference that's taking place on Saturday. And that's open to all, of course, if you wish to attend. The Donegal Democrat Villages Field could boost job hopes. Southwest Donegal community plans fight back against rural unemployment, and this is all happening with Cushta for Binnacarriga. It's proposing that the Line Road Community Sports Field be made available to others. And the Carrick community said this could mark a major step forward in the fight back against rural depopulation. And a nice photograph of a relaxing moment during centenary celebrations that marked the handover of Finner Camp to Irish military forces in February 1922. The Cherrymore Tribune, main headline, disbelief as Irish Water retains 80 years old sewer pipe. John McAteer writes it was a red letter day for the village of Kerrykeel, according to the Irish Water's Public Relations Department, when works began in October to construct a state-of-the-art sewage treatment plant for 500 families. However, there's disbelief that an 80 years old crockery sewage pipe, looking the worse for wear, will not be replaced along the main street. Also, councillors failed to approve Letterkenny draft plan. And Micah, a legacy of false dawns. That's a quote from W. Joe McHugh, and we had that audio, of course, on the programme last week, or earlier this week, I should say. Derry News, father demands answers to son's killing on the 49th anniversary of an IRA bomb that killed his 9-year-old son. A father is calling for an inquest to determine the full facts. The Derry schoolboy Billy Gallagher, now 84, was speaking ahead of the 49th anniversary of the death of his son Gordon, who died after a bomb intended for British Army soldiers detonated while he was playing in the garden of his Cregan home in February 1973. Moving on to the Nationals, and the main headline on the Irish Independent this morning, €1 billion in COVID savings driving up house prices. Charlie Weston writes pandemic savings are fueling property price increases, with money saved on childcare and commuting, boosting home buying power by an additional €1 billion. A new report today reveals the full scale of the effect on the housing market of pent-up savings. And I suppose what it means is when you have a scarce supply, but you have a rise in demand because there is more money available to those who are seeking to purchase, then that is going to push up price, because the whole supply-demand curve is going to be what determines price at the end of the day. And that I suspect, well, I don't suspect, I mean, we know it's what's at the core of the inflation problem we have at the moment, where there is now rising demand and there is limited supply to meet it. Also, separatist regions in Ukraine ask Kremlin for military help. And as we've been hearing in the news with Catherine this morning, there was Russian movement into the disputed regions in Ukraine, which Russia has effectively recognised as independent, and the situation over there escalating to a very concerning degree indeed. The Irish Times this morning, Ukraine in a state of emergency as invasion feared. And misinformation over site ownership derailing NMH, say doctors. Dozens of doctors have urged the government to quickly settle terms for the new National Maternity Hospital. They say misinformation over the site's ownership is derailing the project, and there has been an ongoing debate about this. And, it's becoming a major problem, according to that Irish Times story. Irish Daily Mail this morning. Disabled drivers punished to save on money. Fianna Fáil Junior Minister criticises Finance Department over disability tax relief after board quits in protest. And this is an issue that's been discussed in depth here on Highland. It's been discussed in the Dáil. It's been raised by several of our deputies. A Fianna Fáil minister has hit out at the Department of Finance for denying people with disabilities access to a tax relief scheme for transport. The issue was raised by Minister Anne Rabbitte, also no stranger to this programme. Irish Daily Star this morning. Families say goodbye to shot Keith. Tears for dad of 4 blasted in row over dog. It's the same story on the front of the Irish Sun this morning. The man being quizzed by Gardaí over the shooting of dog breeder is a top barrister. Diarmuid Ross of Phelan was held after Keith Conlon was hit in the head. The father was last night said to be in a coma, and that's the front of the Irish Sun this morning. The front of the Irish Daily Mirror, I love you so much, bro. The heartbroken sister of gun victim Keith Conlon said last night, I love you, bro. That's in response to the fact that he is, we're told, in a coma. Caitlin Conlon revealed her pain as her sibling was on life support after being blasted in the head while out hunting rabbits near Tala in South Dublin on Tuesday. It's a Thursday, which means, of course, it's Irish Farmers Journal Day. More than 100,000 hectares targeted for re-wetting. That's a story by Noel Barden. Also, no ban on one-off rural housing. A ban on rural housing has been ruled out by Minister for Planning and Local Government Peter Burke. He told Irish Country Living that one-off rural housing will still be accommodated under rural housing guidelines. There had been some fears that all one-off rural housing would be banned. That, the Minister says, is not the case. Don't forget, by the way, as it's a Thursday on Highland Radio this evening at around about 20 to 25 past 5 or so during the evening news, Chris Ashmore will be here with Farming News and Views, and that's a programme that's on every Thursday that's very much of interest to the agricultural community. So we're going to take a very short break. Back in a moment with the first of our topics for the morning. But don't forget, you can contact us, text us 086 65000, WhatsApp us on the same number. You can call us 074 91 25000.
Are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Homeland Fuel offers, keeping you warm for less. 40 kg premium doubles or easy flame coal, buy 10 bags, get one free. Hardwood logs, 2 bags for €10. Flow gas, £25 gas cylinder, only €27.99. Shop in-store or online at homeland.ie.
With everything from pedal and electric ride-ons to go-karts and scooters, there's loads of fun guaranteed all year round at Tinny's Toys. If you've a kid's birthday coming up, Tinny's Toys can help make it special or get snow ready with a sleigh. Visit Tinny's Toys on Leck Road, Letterkenny, or shop online for express delivery at tinnystoys.com. Tinny's Toys, with so much more than just farm toys.
At Dunn Stores, we've stacks of ideas for Pancake Tuesday. Whip up a better batter with 6 eggs for only €1. Top with our hazelnut chocolate spread, just €1 a jar. Or squeeze on some lemon. Nets of 3 are only 49¢. Your choice, our great value. Everything you need to do Pancake Tuesday your way. Plus, with our 10.50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Dunn Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Small businesses often find it difficult to access the finance they need. Microfinance Ireland, the government-funded, not-for-profit lender, can help. We help businesses who've been unable to secure finance from banks or other lenders. We provide business loans up to €25,000 to businesses of less than 10 employees with a turnover of up to €2 million. For more information, visit microfinanceIreland.ie or talk to your local enterprise office. Microfinance Ireland, funding small businesses in times of recovery and opportunity.
It's exciting times at Hillside D-Max in Letterkenny because they're moving, but not too far. This Monday the 28th, their new kitchen design studio will open at Curralees on the other side of the Mountaintop roundabout. The studio will showcase the latest kitchen, wardrobe and slide robe designs with D-Mac's renowned attention to detail and exceptional quality. Hillside D-Max, in the heart of your home since 1994. At Curralees, Mountaintop, Letterkenny from Monday the 28th.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
And the time on Highland Radio is 17 minutes past 9 o'clock.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
And you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio, and we're going to go to Zoom now and we're going to have a discussion. We're joined on Zoom by Michael Kingston. He's an international maritime lawyer. Michael, good morning to you. Good morning, Michael. Can you hear me? Michael, good morning. This is Donal here on Highland. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, I'm not sure if Michael can hear me actually. We're just having, I see Michael on my screen, but I'm not sure if Michael sees me. Michael, good morning. No, the vagaries of communication. I'm not sure that Michael can hear me. Let me just go and see if I can.
Hi, Michaela. You're on mute.
Michael, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Donal. Thank you.
Excellent.
You're on
Thanks.
mute.
Thanks. I do apologise.
Right. No problem.
Okay, Michael, you're an international maritime lawyer, and you have been very concerned about the non-publication of a report that first emerged over 10 years ago. Tell us something more about the Rushing-Lacey report that you're so concerned about.
Thank you very much, Donal. Back in November, I spoke with your colleague Greg Hughes, and Padraig McLaughlin from Sinn Féin was also on the radio show. We were discussing the progress through the door of the Merchant Shipping Investigation and Marine Casualty Amendment Bill 2021, which has been brought about to sort out the mess of the investigation into marine casualties in Ireland following a damning judgment against our nation of the 9th of July 2020, where the European Commission brought a case against Ireland, and it was found that our Marine Casualty Investigation Board was acting fundamentally illegally in having civil servants on the board who were effectively investigating their own regulation when casualties occur. And so the department proposed new legislation and never disclosed to the Oireachtas that they already had a template legislation to fix all this prior to the European directive coming into effect in 2011 on the back of a very expensive report by a barrister in Dublin, Roisin-Lacey. They didn't disclose this to the Oireachtas, and it was provided to me by a whistleblower. And this legislation should have been put in place back in 2010-11. And as a consequence, there have been very serious incidents in Ireland that may never have happened had these recommendations been put in place.
Is it your belief then, if I have this correct, is it your contention that had the protocols suggested back in 2010 been in place for subsequent investigations between then and 2020, that lessons might have been learned that weren't learned because the investigations weren't carried out as fully as they might have been?
Without a shadow of a doubt. We've got a totally inadequate investigation system in Ireland, a part-time board with part-time investigators. In 2019, the last benchmark year, we had a full-time unit for aviation, albeit that it's within the Department of Transport, which is another issue that I'll get to, that spent 750,000 on full-time investigations in the field, where you can get to the bottom of things and make proper recommendations and build up corporate knowledge by being a full-time investigative unit. 350,000 on rail, and a paltry 27,000 was spent on investigations in the field in 2019 that involved 6 deaths, and that therefore amounted to 27,000 per death compared to a full-time unit in rail and aviation. So the system is fundamentally flawed, and if you do not investigate an incident properly, then you cannot learn lessons. And also the way this department, or the Marine Casualty Investigation Board was operating with this fundamental conflict in place, there has been many incidents that weren't investigated at all, including as a report by Marine Hazard Limited confirms of the 4th of January 2021, 2 deaths in Killybegs of fishermen whose lives obviously are deemed by the state to be worthless, where they didn't even bother investigating the deaths. And on the foot of this conflict, I've also been approached by multiple whistleblowers from within the department and for investigators and former and current department officials to say that reports on the foot of this conflict were being fundamentally changed. And therefore, I have brought a complaint to Garda Commissioner Harris that this is misconduct in public office of the most serious nature that has caused death and further death in Ireland, and the failure to do what should have been done in the Irish state, and then changing reports. And that is currently before the Assistant Commissioner for organised and serious crime. That's how serious these issues are.
Well, as you said, you did speak with Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, the Sinn Féin spokesperson on fisheries and the marine, and he joins us now. The Merchant Shipping Investigation of Marine Casualties Amendment Bill 2021 was debated before the Dáil last night, and Deputy McLaughlin, as we understand it, that legislation was effectively passed. Is this a case of closing the stable door after the horse is gone?
Well, we pushed it to a vote last night. I think nearly all the opposition voted against the government legislation because, as Michael has said, we need a comprehensive overhaul, not just tinkering around the edges. And there is very good examples, particularly in Sweden, where you have a template where all of the investigations, so it could be air, rail, marine tragedies, would be investigated under the one roof, independently, fully independent from government. The key thing, and Michael has said this so many times, and he's won cross-party support for the case that he and his colleagues have made, is that when we have these tragedies, they should be fully and independently investigated. And the lessons that need to be learned need to be learned. And then you would then provide the training, the support to those who are at sea, be it for leisure purposes or fisheries to earn their living. And that hasn't happened. And you have that dread that there are people who have lost their lives unnecessarily in our waters due to this failure. So, I mean, Michael has been really authoritative. Of course, Michael has suffered tragedy himself, and this has been his own life experience, has led him to be, an internationally respected authority on maritime safety. And when you have somebody of that caliber at your disposal, enthusiastically assisting you, I cannot understand why the Department of Transport have just repeatedly refused to do this. And I can only assume it's about protecting little empires or things like that, which is just unacceptable. And last night, the minister's excuse is that we need to get this up and running again. But I mean, it's half-baked. He's also asking people to take a leap of faith in a department that has repeatedly failed again and again and again to implement the changes that need to be made.
As you've said, at the basis of this discussion are people's lives. And there are personal stories attached to this that should be heard. And one of those who has a personal story is Donna Marie. Donna Marie, you're very welcome to the programme this morning. Is Donna Marie with us?
She's on mute.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think we've just lost Donna Marie, actually. I'll just see if I can admit her again. I do apologise for this. We'll get to Donna Marie in a moment. Michael, just to come back to yourself, Michael, I mean, you've heard what Deputy McLaughlin said, I mean, about what happened in the Dáil last night, and it seems that what he and others would regard as being unacceptably vague, if that's the right word, legislation that doesn't bring in the concrete changes you believe are necessary. Are you disappointed at what happened in the Dáil last night? Or perhaps more, the question really should be, are you surprised at what happened in the Dáil last night?
No, I'm not surprised at all, Donal. This is a never-ending example of the most gross display of deliberate failure causing death that the Irish state has ever seen. And I would like to compliment Padraig McLaughlin for his engagement on this issue. It is so the amount of time that he spent, and his other colleagues, Darren O'Rourke, Sinn Féin's spokesman for transport, I consider them to be some of the outstanding politicians of our generation for the attention they've paid to this. And, this goes back to 1979, Donal. My father died in the Whidbey Island disaster, and in Bantry Bay with 50 other people. It was one of the most appalling displays of regulatory oversight in the history of world maritime safety, not just Irish maritime safety. That's how bad it was. No focus on what the government were actually doing and no analysis of it afterwards. In 1987, we had the Herald of Free Enterprise, otherwise known as the Zeebrugge ferry disaster in the United Kingdom, where almost 200 people died. And the British introduced an independent marine accident investigation board after a public inquiry. The template was there. We should have done it in Ireland. We were all watching what happened. In 1998, we spent hundreds of thousands on a policy review group report that said we needed an independent marine casualty investigation board. Instead of following the recommendations that said we needed to follow international best practice, we had the template from the United Kingdom from 1987. We left our department officials on the board. In 2009, the European directive came in. In 2010, we had the Roisin-Lacey report. In 2011, we transposed the European directive incorrectly. 2015, the European Commission write to us and tell us that we are in breach of the regulations, and we fight that inexplicably in an indefensible position until a judgment is entered against us in 2020. In 2021, we try and avoid the department pre-legislative scrutiny, and we say that we'll just have a patch up of the current system, which this proposed legislation is, and we'll have a review later. Why can't we put the legislation in place that we have in template form that was provided in 2010 by Roisin-Lacey? Because they're just using this as an exercise to continue the same system and then promising a review that will never happen. It's an outrageous democratic deficit, and people need to be held to account. And Donna Marie, who is back online, I can see from my own station here, will explain to you that the abhorrent manner in which her father-in-law and her husband were blamed for a lack of safety for the tragedy of Port Ronan in 2008 in 18.
And at this point we will go over, and thank you indeed, Michael. And Donna Marie, you're very welcome to the programme, and please tell us your story, because as we said earlier, this is a story that has at its heart human life, and you can tell us the human cost that these issues have led to.
Hi, Donal. Thanks for having us on today. Well, where do I start? It's been awful. It's been terrible, and instead of the normal grieving process in our family, where it's every day is a fight for truth and justice for as Michael says, the abhorrent lies that has been put on Dad and Desi. About the day of the accident. My dad was the most safety conscious person that you would have ever met. He was always very safe. He always taught us to be safe. He would have never done anything to risk anyone's anyone's safety. We still haven't had our inquest over 3 years on. We had to wait. First of all, we had to wait for the Marine report, which was late. And the strange thing is, we all looked forward to the Marine report. Desi, especially my husband that survived the accident, he looked forward, to the report. So we could have our inquest and try and start to grieve. But instead, it's just. For example, the newspapers when the report was finally published, the newspapers were led to believe that it was safety concerns on behalf of Dad and Desi that resulted in the day, and there was absolutely no mention of the unanswered 999 call, which lasted 78 seconds. All the emphasis was put on the fact that there was no VHF radio on board, which is not mandatory on a pleasure craft.
And just to tell the story very briefly, in case some people don't recall it, and it was one of those sadly all too frequent tragedies that we see off the coast of Donegal. It happened in July 2018. Your dad, your husband Desi, and your cousin were fishing in Malin Head. Two freak waves came. One flooded the back of the boat. The other hit directly after. The boat went down. Your husband thankfully survived, but sadly your dad and your cousin Thomas did not survive. And there was a 999 call made, and that was later proven to be the case. But it seemed at the start that for a while there was almost denials that call was made.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, you have to ask the question: if Desi hadn't survived, would this 999 call have ever came to light? Would we have ever been made aware of it? What actually happened was a cousin of mine and Desi on the Saturday after the accident went up to 3 Mobile to get a replacement phone for Desi. And while they were there, Desi said to the man in 3 Mobile, he said, could you have a look and see? He said, I tried to make a 999 call. I wonder, could you see, did it ever connect? And the man then, he said it did. Yeah, he said it was made at 10:16 and it lasted for 78 seconds. We then, with the help of Padraig McLaughlin, were able to get a copy of the call from BTE Cass in Navan. And on the call, you can clearly hear Desi saying, where there's 3 of us, we're on a boat, we're off Malin Head, we're taking on water, we're going down. The call is so clear that you can hear my dad in the background saying, don't panic, boys, the helicopter will be here in a minute. Now, that call was made at 10:16 in the morning and was never responded to. And that, that's not given that's given very little credence. In the MCIB report, they decided to focus on the fact that he didn't have a VHF radio, which, like we've said, is not mandatory on a pleasure craft.
And in making that comment about there being no VHF radio, there is almost an inference there. It's not stated, but there is almost an inference that if you say there wasn't a radio on the boat, what you're effectively inferring is, well, there was no way for the boat to make contact in the case of an emergency. Clearly, and demonstrably, there was. There was.
Worse than that. It's worse than that, Donal. The report actually said that they did not have adequate means of communication. Now, anyone reading that, and that's what was carried in the national media by both RTE and the Irish Times, would, as precisely as you say those people didn't know what they were doing. They were so safety conscious that the night before they discussed with each other to make sure that they had mobile phone means of communication, right? Number one. So the key issue in this report, that it does contain information about the mobile phone exchange, but it's sort of, not at the top of the report, as Donna Marie says. But there are other issues here. Rescue 116 was a medevac from a fishing vessel 250 miles to the west of Ireland. We now know that there was a complete communication failure in the Irish Coast Guard, and it was an unnecessary call out. Now, a proper marine casualty, and there was no marine casualty investigation of that fishing boat by our department. There was an aviation investigation. Had there been an investigation, which there should have been, of that fishing vessel that was linked to the deaths of 4 precious citizens of our nation, we would have known there was a fundamental problem in the Irish Coast Guard with communication in emergency situations.
And you were calling and you're calling for the publication of the Roisin Lacey report on the basis that you believe the recommendations contained within that report, which we haven't seen in full because it's not published, but you believe had the recommendations of that report been implemented, we would have had the sort of robust and properly constituted accident investigation protocols that would actually have determined, what the truth was in these and other situations, and would have helped us perhaps learn the lessons that might have prevented some other tragedies and situations.
100%. And the second point is, right, that would have been fixed in the Irish Coast Guard, and Desi Keenan wouldn't have had to watch his father-in-law and Thomas Weir die in front of his eyes after making an emergency call, number one. And number two, Desi Keenan and Gerard Doherty would have had the benefit of the recommendations in multiple reports being implemented where they appear, and in some cases they were removed, of a mandatory course, basic training course for pleasure craft users, where it would become mandatory to have different provisions that would have helped them on the day. But there have been multiple instances of pleasure craft accidents, but the lessons have never been either implemented or brought to the attention of other pleasure craft users, only by things called marine notices. I can tell you 100% that those 2 people who died relatively recently in 2018 would be alive today if the Roisin Lacey recommendations had been put.
Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, I want to come back to you and give you almost a final word on this, because it seems to me that what happened in the Dáil last night with the bill being passed was more...
The department buried them and deliberately breached in...
Yeah, I think Michael's just frozen. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, just want to go back to you.
Sorry, Donal, I missed that point.
No, I'm just going to go back to Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, actually, because I want to put to you, Padraig, that it seems to me, as an observer from outside, that the passing of that bill in the Dáil last night almost had more to do with meeting the requirements of a European directive than it had to do with implementing the report that makes recommendations on what needs to be done in order to ensure people's safety at sea.
Yeah, it was about doing the basic minimum to meet that directive. I mean, if they were meeting the spirit of that directive, they would have worked with Michael and implemented new legislation that brings in a comprehensive investigation, overall investigation body that would look at marine, rail and air, everything that's totally independent, properly resourced, that gets to the bottom, the full truth of what happens in every one of these tragedies, and then make sure that the recommendations are then implemented by the relevant departments. So, I mean, what you're seeing is a complete abdication of responsibility in the most serious way, and that's why, Michael has felt the need to make a complaint to Garda Síochána, because he's tried for years to get this resolved, and that's where he's been pushed to. So I also want to commend Donna Marie and her family, because they have experienced an appalling as Donna Marie says, they had lost their loved ones in the most awful circumstances, and they have had to live with a presentation that their loved ones were responsible for their own deaths, and that is just so wrong and so unfair. So it's so important that the listeners in Donegal, and hopefully more and more people across Ireland, understand that they are victims of a appalling investigation system, and my fear is that more people will lose their lives because of this willful failure that has happened over many years. So I'm hoping that now, on a cross-party basis, by continuing to work with Michael, by working with Donna Marie and other families across Ireland, that we can make change. My final point is this, Donal, is that there's only two island states in the whole of the European Union, only two, Ireland and Cyprus. You would think the fact we're surrounded by water, that we would have a real focus on safety for our fishing communities, for our pleasure craft communities, and that is not the case. To me, it points to a wider disrespect for our coastal communities that I see in so many different manifestations. We need to change our mindset. We are an island nation. We need to look at that resource. We need to look at safety. And you can see from Donna Marie's testimony today, the outworkings, the tragic outworkings of so much failure over the last 20 years in this regard.
Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, Michael Kingston and Donna Marie, indeed, all three of you, thank you very much indeed. It's a tragedy what happened to your family, Donna Marie, and our thoughts obviously are with you, and hopefully your husband and others get the vindication that they deserve, and I know you're going to keep fighting for that. Michael Kingston, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning, and Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, thanks to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donal.
Thank you.
The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Oh, Amy, my little one. I ask myself a million questions every day. When will you give me your first smile? How much sleep do you need? How can I help you and your big brother to get along?
At the HSE's mychild.ie and in the free My Child books, you'll find the answers you need from doctors, midwives, public health nurses, dietitians and lots of other experts. mychild.ie. Expert advice for every step of pregnancy, baby and toddler health. From the HSE.
Are you involved in a digital project in your town or community? Would you like to share in a €100,000 prize fund? The .ie Digital Town Awards shine a light on the achievements of local towns for digital projects in health, education, tourism and community. To enter the .ie Digital Town Awards, visit weare.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
From the 26th of February, fly with Aer Lingus from Donegal to Dublin from $29.99 one way. That's 2 flights daily to and from Dublin. So, what are you waiting for? See aerlingus.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Relax and unwind in the newly refurbished Radisson Blu Hotel Letterkenny, where all 114 guest rooms and suites have undergone a complete luxury upgrade. Get back on track with a visit to the Health Club. Monthly membership deals available from only €32 per month. Drop in and visit the newly refurbished Radisson Blu Letterkenny today.
Here comes the aeroplane. And there go the peas.
You'll find expert advice on weaning at mychild.ie from the HSE.
Need a new part for your Ford car or van? Why not call to OMS Auto Parts in Buncrana? With a massive stock of Ford parts, you're sure to get the part you need. Free next day delivery on orders over €50. Call 074 9361924 or shop online at omsautoparts.ie.
Should have gone to Specsavers. That's what the ads tell you. But for some people in India, it's not that simple. Imagine having no eye tests or glasses. You couldn't work, so you could lose your home. I'm Lisa from Specsavers, and I'm proud to help the Hope Foundation provide eye care in Kolkata. Specsavers arranged for me and my colleagues to go there and do eye tests. To date, we've given out over 11,000 pairs of glasses. Find out how we're changing people's lives for the better at specsavers.ie.
Are you thinking of changing your car? Then look no further than Inishowen Credit Union for your finance. It's simple. A car loan from Inishowen Credit Union means you borrow the money to pay for your car and the car is yours. No hidden fees or balloon payments. Apply online at www.inishowencu.ie or contact us on 074 9361017. Membership of Inishowen Credit Union is open to anyone who lives or works in the Inishowen Peninsula. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Isn't it time to go exploring? To break away and feel something new? To conquer the Slieve Lee cliffs that lay at the edge of the world? To lose track of time in the National Gallery of Ireland? To witness the hidden histories of Blarney Castle? Or escape the ordinary on a cruise down the Shannon? Make a memory to share forever. Because this country of ours is filled with wonders. Keep discovering at discoverireland.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
And Met Éireann tell us it'll stay very cold this morning with icy stretches possible on untreated surfaces, sunny spells and scattered showers of sleet, snow and hail, and a potential for some isolated thunderstorms today. Through the afternoon and evening, the snow showers will become mainly confined to higher ground. It'll stay windy with fresh to strong west to southwest winds, potentially turning stormy for a time in the afternoon on the northwest and north coast. Highest temperatures just 4 to 6 degrees Celsius, feeling colder as a result of the wind chill. Early tonight there'll be clear spells and scattered showers of rain or sleet. It'll become drier overnight as showers become isolated. Cold with minimum temperatures -1 to +2 degrees Celsius with frost and ice possible. Breezy early in the night with fresh and gusty westerly winds. They'll gradually ease light to moderate overnight. Tomorrow cold and dry with sunny spells. Any frost and ice will clear, leaving cloud increasing, bringing patches of drizzle. Milder tomorrow. Afternoon temperatures 7 to 9 in mostly light to moderate breezes. And that's Highland Radio weather for now.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The Vice Chair of the HSC Regional Health Forum is Councillor Jerry McMonigal, and one of the issues that was raised at a meeting of that forum this week was the fact that there were more than 1,200 diabetic patients awaiting appointments at Letterkenny University Hospital. Councillor McMonigal, good morning.
Good morning, Donal.
A serious situation, and the situation facing diabetic patients in Donegal is one that we've discussed in the past, and there are long established and identified deficiencies in terms of staffing and services at the hospital. This exacerbates that even more, it would seem.
Yeah, look, as you say, Donal, it's been going on for quite some time. I remember back, I think, 2017 meeting with the then Minister of Health, Simon Harris, up at Letterkenny University Hospital, along with the Donegal Diabetic Association members, and the promises and commitments that were made then. And we're sitting here now in 2022, and a lot of those commitments and promises have not been made. And it's after myself and Deputy Padraig McLaughlin had a meeting with the Donegal Diabetes Association there a number of weeks ago, and they had a long list of concerns and requests which Deputy McLaughlin addressed through the P&Qs to the Minister in the Dáil. And yesterday I got the opportunity to raise the questions in the Regional Health Forum, and they're essentially around the waiting list, the podiatrist, who has been off on extended leave for a long time, necessitating patients who need the podiatrist to travel to Galway. And we've informed yesterday that the podiatrist will return to post as of the 7th of March next. So that's welcome news, but we're still fighting for campaigning for the second endocrinologist to be appointed. There is approval for 2 full-time equivalent consultant physicians in endocrinology at the hospital, but to date we've only got 1 full-time, and there's 1 locum fills in now and then, and that's sort of adding to the list of people awaiting treatment going bigger and bigger.
And I'm sure when we hear that people have to go to Galway or people have to go to Sligo, the last thing they need in Galway and Sligo is people coming down to them from Letterkenny, because they have enough people of their own to be dealing with. So it's going to be in everyone's interests right across the Celta group that the more you invest in Letterkenny, the less pressure you're going to take off Sligo, the more pressure you're going to take off Galway. So it's in their interests as well as Letterkenny's interests to ensure that the proper investment and the proper staffing is achieved.
Yeah, and we see it at first hand at the Regional Health Forum. You've sat in at some of the meetings yourself, Donal, and you hear the problems that Galway, Limerick, Mayo are all experiencing as well. And as a result of patients from Donegal having to travel to the likes of Galway University Hospital for a lot of health services. And, you know, we had those patients that travelled from Donegal where maybe for podiatrists were kept for up to 10 days because there was no podiatrist access at the hospital or from the hospital here in Letterkenny. So yeah, it adds a burden on all our areas. But we have a situation with the podiatrist, and it's hard to get your head around. But there, in Skelly House, there's 4 community, what they call termed community podiatrists stationed there. But apparently they don't have the authority to work out of Letterkenny University Hospital, and that's you know, it's just mind-blowing, to be honest. I can't for the life of me understand that, and we haven't got an acceptable answer to that. But that's one way that you could address the podiatrist situation. Some of those community podiatrists could be maybe moved up to the gatehouse at Letterkenny University Hospital and see diabetes patients there. Like so. But it's just, as you say, it's just ongoing. It has been ongoing. A lot of promises and commitments have been made. And all we can do and what we pledge to do to the Diabetes Association is to continue to raise the concerns and call for more resources to be put into Donegal.
And there is a fundamental difference between this and many other of the waiting list stories we do. In some cases we do stories about waiting lists, and yes, it can be resolved by the National Treatment Purchase Fund, and you can send someone perhaps across the border to get the work done in Ballycastle or wherever, you know, that you can sort of get work done in private clinics if it's a one-off issue. The issue with diabetes, of course, is it's an ongoing condition. It's a matter of monitoring a person's condition at any given time, and the important thing for that is that the health professional knows the client, The health professional knows the person, knows where the person's coming from, knows where the person needs to be. And it's that knowledge of the person and that ongoing monitoring that's vital to making sure that their life is balanced and that they're in the best health possible. You can't just, and if you're bouncing from person to person, from different appointment to different appointment with a different professional, you're not going to get that sort of relationship with your medical professional that's necessary with something like diabetes.
That's correct, Donal. And as you say, it's under constant review. And when them symptoms start changing or it gets worse, you need to be on the ball. You need to be on top of it, and that's why we need the podiatrist to be there all the time. It's also why we need to review appointments to be consistent and regular. And I mean, we're being told now that those review appointments can be up in a waiting list of now could be over 2 years, and that's just not good enough, especially for an illness like diabetes. And as we know, through the recent pandemic, the effect that COVID had on people with diabetes is very serious, and it will, very, very important that diabetes patients are regularly monitored and they're seen, and that they should not have to be waiting the length of time that they are for a review appointment. So, look, it's a job of work for us as elected representatives to do, and we will continue to raise their concerns, but there's also a job of work for the government to do, and that's to invest in the resources that are needed to provide an adequate and proper diabetic service for patients in Donegal, and we'll continue to lobby them on that behalf.
Councillor Jerry McMonagle, thanks indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you, Donal.
That's Councillor Jerry there, Vice Chair, as we said, of the Regional Health Forum West, and a very important issue indeed. Just some of your comments coming in with regards to the discussion we had earlier about marine investigations. Caller says, Ireland does not do investigations, it just pretends to. So many lives here are destroyed by a lack of proper investigation. And the caller goes on then. And it's certainly an issue that it's hugely important, because we're very good, I think, sometimes in this country at playing the blame game. And sometimes it almost seems that the purpose of an investigation is to find someone to blame. Now, surely the purpose of an investigation is to find out in as objective a way as possible what happened, and most importantly of all, how it can be stopped from happening again. And the more we focus on a blame game, and it seems to be a blame game and a protection game at the same time, because there certainly has been a suggestion from Michael Kingston in some cases, these investigations that almost have half an eye on making sure that you protect some people and that you throw others, it seems, to the wolves. I mean, and it's, it absolutely... and one of the programmes I actually enjoy watching, well, enjoy is probably the wrong word, but I find fascinating, is Air Accident Investigations. It's on, I think it's the Discovery Channel, on one of the Sky channels. But it's really interesting to watch the Air Accident Investigation stories, because very often, because they're high-profile plane crashes, they're stories you remember. So you actually remember watching news coverage of the crash at the time, and then when they actually interview the investigators and the painstaking extent to which they investigate what happened. And, it can be a multitude of factors, and it can come down to the smallest of things. It can come down to one nut shearing and the way they break it down. But they do that in a way that's absolutely non-judgmental and absolutely open to the extent that they are ready to find out anything. They go in with no judgment, no preconceptions, just go in there, find out what happened and find out how to prevent it from happening again. And maybe we do have something to learn in that respect. Caller says, I was recently in Norway. A foot of snow fell overnight. In the morning, the entire road was cleared. I met a snowplow this morning with the plough up in the air. Even if this driver was only en route to a starting point, where is the common sense of using it en route to the starting point? It's time a little rain and snow stopped bringing this county to a halt, so says a caller. Some comments left over from yesterday. Caller says, I live in a small rural town. I'm sick of watching people parking on double yellow lines. These lines are freshly painted and clear to be seen. We don't have a traffic warden who polices this behaviour, because Gardaí are not there to be seen. Another caller says, we have 4 taxis in our area. It's impossible to get a taxi home at weekend. What's our elected representative's solution? Do we go back to drink driving again? And that is a perennial problem. And the problem, particularly in smaller areas with taxis, is if you're out on a Saturday night stroke Sunday morning at 1 or 2 in the morning and the nightclubs are closing or whatever, or it's when the pubs are closing at 11:30, you're going to look around and say, God, any taxi driver would do great business in this town. It's brilliant. There's so much demand. The problem is, what you have to do is say, right, if someone sets up a taxi firm, demand's going to be huge on a Saturday night, Sunday morning. What's demand going to be like at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning? What's demand going to be like at 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon? And I suppose that's really the thing, that a taxi service ultimately is a commercial business, and it's got to operate all the time. There's going to be huge demand at certain times, but, is there enough demand to sustain a taxi service over the course of an entire week? That's really the question. So we now get into rural transport and buses and rural transport link, and great work being done by that. Is there enough being done in terms of Irish Rural Link? That's under constant review, and I'm sure more could be done, and no doubt more will be done in time. News coming up with Catherine very soon. We'll take a short break, and we'll see you on the other side of 10 o'clock.
Call now on 074 91 25,000.
What's Santa's favourite colour? I don't know. Run next door and ask him.
Lulls in Lapland? Could be. Tune in this Friday to Highland Radio.
Dairy Gold. It's there for you first thing in the morning and waiting for you when you come home at night. To fill early starts with goodness and to bring a bit of warmth to your hands after a long journey home. To start your day on the right side of the bread and to finish it with a satisfying crunch. For early mornings, late nights and everything in between, the deliciously creamy taste of Dairy Gold spreads the goodness in more ways than one. Dairy Gold. Spread the goodness.
If you've got magic moments or great memories captured on your smartphone, now is a great time to have them printed at mcgee's.ie. Simply upload your favourite photos, choose your size and finish, and McGee's will take care of the rest, with the results delivered to your door. Prices are from just 12 cents, and there's also creative options available. Preserve your memories today at mcgee's.ie.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
Thousands of hectares of land targeted for re-wetting. For more in this week's Farmers' Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal the EU proposals which could see over 100,000 hectares of farm peatland re-wetted. Ban on one-off rural housing ruled out by Minister. Dairy Group talk cow cap and farmer compensation for tackling climate change. And will you make money from putting solar panels in your sheds?
Plus, how to make the most of spring fertiliser. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers' Journal, on sale now.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
It's 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Catherine Gaffney. An invasion the likes of which Europe hasn't seen since the Second World War. The words of the Foreign Affairs Minister today in response to the Russian military assault launched on Ukraine overnight. In a televised address, President Vladimir Putin claimed his forces were going in to protect people from the regime in Kiev. Explosions have been heard from the Ukrainian capital, where warning sirens have also been ringing. Minister Simon Coveney says the invasion appears to have been well planned and EU sanctions against Russia will be increased significantly.
Unfortunately, and I'm sad to have to say it, but diplomacy to this point has failed, and clearly Russia have been lying to us for quite some time and have been planning this invasion because it's happening, in a way that is highly organised, through the last few hours. So, this is effectively an invasion the likes of which Europe hasn't seen since the Second World War.
The provision of 2 new multi-million euro business, enterprise and innovation centres in Letterkenny is a step closer. The project under the Council's Part 8 development process is expected to be given the green light when it comes before councillors at a special meeting getting underway around now. Tara Duggan has the latest.
Donegal County Council, in partnership with the Donegal 2040 Strategic Development Designated Activity Company, proposes to carry out the mixed-use development, Phase 1 of the Letterkenny 2040 Strategic Urban Regeneration Site at Pierce Road and Ramelton Road. The proposed development will include the demolition of the former ESB retail and office premises and existing sheds to the rear of the site. It'll see construction of a new 7-storey and 8-storey building, both set to house a business, enterprise and innovation centres. The project will include a central civic space, pedestrian and cycle accessibility and mobility infrastructure. It's also hoped that a space will be created to facilitate a leisure and meeting place. Planners say it will create a vibrant and highly accessible mixed-use development and high-quality architecture.
Social distancing pods and bubbles are gone, and sporting activities, music, singing and breakfast clubs can all resume in schools from Monday. It's part of new guidance issued to schools by the Department of Education last night, which is encouraging them to return to normal routines and activities. Mask wearing will no longer be required. However, anyone wishing to continue wearing a mask should be allowed to do so. General Secretary of the Association of Secondary Teachers, Kieran Christie, says it will take time to get used to the changes.
The previous regimes that have been in place in schools have effectively been dismantled with effect from next week. And obviously there's some trepidation around all of that. But I have every confidence that school communities will adapt and continue to do the very best they can, as cautiously as they can in the circumstances in which we find ourselves.
The Foreign Affairs Minister has been urged to examine the findings of the Greenwich report. In particular, the Minister is being asked to focus on details as it relates to a former UDR member believed to have been involved in a number of murders, including that of Donegal councillor Eddie Fullerton in 1991. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin was speaking during statements on the collusion allegations contained in the report last night in the Dáil. He said the findings deserve close examination and a full response from government.
In early 1991, the RUC found documentation on large numbers of Republicans in the home of Person J. He was released on bail a short period after that. In the period that he was released on bail, he was a key suspect in 2 murders, that of Councillor Eddie Fullerton and that of Tommy Donaghy, who is a member of Sinn Féin.
And work on a long-awaited one-way system in the heart of Letterkenny is to begin next month. The traffic system was first proposed back in 2018, but it had been stalled due to funding constraints. Donegal County Council has confirmed that the funding has now been allocated, with construction due to start at the end of next month. The project includes changing the traffic flow in the town from St Eunan's Cathedral to St Columkill National School, St Eunan's College and Skolwarrigan Small. Cahirla of the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, Councillor Jimmy Kavanagh, says once complete it'll have huge benefits.
It's good news, and particularly for residents up around College Road there and so on. You know, it's very dangerous up there with the two-way system, and also with so many schools in the area. You know, it's good news. It's good news for them as well.
Weather now very cold this morning, with icy stretches possible on untreated surfaces. There will be sunny spells and scattered showers of sleet, snow and hail, and the potential for isolated thunderstorms, temperatures of just 4 to 6 degrees. We're back with the headlines for you at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for Thursday morning, the 24th of February. The death has taken place of Gracie McBride, Gracie Mickey Wyra, Middletown, Derrybeg. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral Mass will take place tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg.
The 9 till noon show with
in Maharagallen Cemetery. The wake will be private to family and close friends. The funeral mass can be viewed on the Chat Pub Wura webcam. The death has occurred of Florence McCafferty, Trusk, Ballybuffet. Her remains are reposing at her home this evening from 6 p.m. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Shesha O'Neill. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The funeral mass will be streamed live on the parish Facebook page. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. And the death has taken place of Josie Mitchell, Neo Hagan, Glen Carr, Letterkenny. Funeral mass this morning at 11 o'clock in St Columkille's Church, Glendowen, followed by interment in Temple Douglas Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
You have one new message.
Hi Claire, Auntie Dee here. I just wanted to say a big thank you for skipping my party. We had a great night and everyone was so happy you didn't come. Now you take care. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
And you're welcome back to the second hour of the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. It's Donal Kavanagh with you on the programme this morning. The bingo numbers coming up in just a moment. But before we do that, a few of your comments. Caller says, and this refers, I think, back to the story yesterday about the grants to pig farmers. Caller says, I have a business and I overstock. Who is going to give me money for my loss? The amount of handouts farmers get is ridiculous. If I can only feed 5 sheep, why would I buy 50? So says a caller. Another caller says, shopkeepers don't tell farmers how to run their business, so how dare they tell shopkeepers how to run theirs? Another caller says, the government has ruined farming in Ireland. I'm a young farmer just starting up. Charlie McConalogue is not doing his job and he's only in the job to collect his big pension. I've tried to contact him several times and I've been given no reply. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have destroyed the farming community and our Minister for Agriculture just sits back and lets it happen. There are 8,000 people employed either directly on farms or indirectly in factories in the pig sector. I can't see how it's in anyone's interest to see 8,000 people lose their jobs if the budget was in the Department of Agriculture to help even slightly. Caller says, unbelievable. Pig farmers are getting a subsidy of €20,000 while children go hungry. The waiting lists in our health services, people's homes falling apart with mica, etc. Personally, I wouldn't eat any pork in this country or from the EU. So says a caller, and they go on to raise some questions about the treatment of pigs. It's all about greed and money, a caller suggests. All I'm saying is that we need to compare like with like. Now, this is the story we had yesterday from Derrybeg about the fact that Derrybeg has the highest failure, one of the highest failure rates in the country for the NCT. Also had one of the highest proportions of cars deemed at the NCT to be dangerous. Now, caller says, if you take full tests for 2014 cars in 2021, a Dacia has a 47% pass rate. There's no point in comparing an 8-year-old Dacia to an up to 40-year-old BMW. I filled in my car licence renewal and sent it off 3 weeks ago to Cork. Still nothing back. Is this an unusually long waiting time? Another caller asks, it's time someone was held accountable for all these oil spills? Who checks these transport lorries for leaks? It's constant on the roads of Donegal. Caller says, I see a few convictions in the paper for breaking COVID rules for the poor of this country. We're still seeing that the landlords get to do what they want. That's a caller's perspective there. Caller says, if we all behaved like the golf haters, would more people have died and suffered unnecessarily from COVID? They are hypocrites, full stop. I take it that's a reference to the ongoing debate about Golfgate. Caller says, there must be plenty of money around. What some of the hotels in Donegal are looking for overnight stays. One hotel for a Friday night stay for 2 people, second week in March, €318, and that's just for breakfast. Unreal. I got a hotel in Belfast for 80 sterling. That's why so many people are going north. Well, the caller says, does anyone else feel that the threat of Russia attacking Ukraine is connected to the secrets of Medjugorje? One of the messages is that Russia will triumph. She also says that war can be stopped by prayer and fasting. It's something we need to take on board approaching Lent. I'm not a holy Joe in any way, but I find myself scared, suffering from anxiety, so says. And a lot of people are indeed concerned about the situation in Ukraine. And indeed, as you heard on the news, it has escalated further. Now, the time is 12 and a half minutes past 10 o'clock. It's time for the bingo numbers. So if you play Highland Radio NCBI Bingo, and why wouldn't you, grab your pens, grab your books, eyes down, I'll hand you over to Cass.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 24th of February, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €9,000 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S19. It's game number 8. The jackpot number is 74. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 10, 57, 31, 87, 77, 82, 81, 16, 7, and finally 58. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Nutrius XL Yo with Lamb and Nutrius Yo with Lamb Crunch are both formulated to ensure a vigorous lamb and excellent milk yield. Avail of our lambing season offer: 25 kg bags, buy 10 get 1 free, and €10 off per tonne in bulk. Available at your local Homeland store. Offer until March 31st. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
At your local Centra, we have great offers, like Centra strip loin steak 360 gram, only €6. For Pancake Tuesday, selected Odlums, Home Cook, Rouse and Nutella products, any 2 for €4. And Canto Novo Pinot Grigio, half price now $7.99. Centra. Live every day. Please drink sensibly.
Workwear at Borderland Muff. Waterproof jackets, trousers and footwear at Borderland Muff. Men's, ladies and children's fashions at Borderland Muff. For wetsuits and workwear. For fashion and waterproofs, visit borderlandmuff.ie. Open 7 days. Borderland Muff.
Ireland's Queen of Country, Philomena Begley's 60 years in showbiz concert is coming to the Clanry Hotel Letterkenny on Friday the 4th of March with special guests Ray Lynham, Mick Flavin and Aidan Quinn. Tickets for this show to remember are on sale now from the Clanry Hotel on 9124369.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
And the time is just approaching 16 minutes past 10 o'clock.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
One of the things we regularly do in the newsroom here on Highland Radio is monitor leaders' questions in Dáil Éireann and also the order of business. Now, they're the little snippets where you will very often hear the party leaders and the Taoiseach or Taoiseach having a pop at each other. Yesterday was no exception. And Aoife Moore, who's political correspondent with the Irish Examiner last night, put an interesting post up on social media. She said, "I want decent opportunities for young people, a quality of life and an end to the housing crisis. Shouting about the Galway tent and rape does absolutely nothing for for any of us, a pointless exercise. And Aoife, it isn't very often I use this programme because we were supposed to be objective here in the show, but and so say all of us. It's become one of these predictable pantomimes in politics that you and I could both have sat down, and in fact I pretty much regularly do, write the Taoiseach's script before he even says it.
It's not even the Taoiseach, it is also the Sinn Féin President, Mary Lou McDonald. Within even the press gallery, the political correspondents have often said that we are all quite tired and bored of leaders' questions at this stage. It's often referred to by the press as the Punch and Judy show. What it usually starts as is that Mary Lou McDonald will take the government to task, which is right, which she is right to do on housing. The housing crisis has not abated. But what tends to happen then, rather than substantive debate about the housing crisis and the issues we are having with rent and extortionate prices, it then becomes a slanging match. So what will happen is the Sinn Féin President will begin talking about, yesterday for instance, she talked about the Galway tent, she talked about brown envelopes, and then in turn the Taoiseach, Micheál Martin, has also become incredibly predictable as his opposition leader. And then he begins, yesterday he usually brings up Sinn Féin's record in local government about objecting to housing. They have used a number of times this number of houses. They say that Sinn Féin have objected to 6,000 houses. A detailed fact check has shown that it hasn't been true, but they still keep trotting it out. And then yesterday, in a debate about housing, it became a row about the Galway tent, the IRA, and the rape of women by IRA volunteers. It was incredibly depressing. I'm someone who watches leaders' questions 3 times a week for my job, and yesterday I felt totally despondent. I don't feel like there's much point in the exercise. We have often actually found that when it's not the Taoiseach and it's not Mary Lou McDonald, when you'll have stand-ins. So today we'll have Pierce Doherty and it'll be Leo Varadkar. The odd time you'll get Michael McGrath, the Public Expenditure Minister, and one time you might have Claire Curran, the Sinn Féin spokesperson on public expenditure. We actually get better answers when it tends not to be the two leaders. We can actually get substantive debate. You can actually find out where the government's policy is and what they're planning to do. So, yeah, I felt the need just to tweet about it yesterday because I was so depressed.
Yeah, it is that predictability and the inevitable problem with all of this is you get a ding-dong exchange, and to be quite honest, we sometimes get really interesting audio for stories out of it, but the one thing you do not get is answers to questions.
Absolutely, and it doesn't do anyone any good, and that is a big part of it. I do think someone made the point to me yesterday that sometimes politicians know each other better than they know their citizens, and I think what they've fallen into this trap of, they do these debates now for sound bites. They know the audio will look good, they know the video will look good on social media, and it becomes a race to get the sound bite out. So saying things like the Galway tent, saying things like brown envelopes, Sinn Féin know that that's going to play well on social media. So that's the clips, that's the things they want to get out. And same for Fianna Fáil, they're going to bring up the IRA, they're going to bring up the Troubles because they feel like that's a stick to beat Sinn Féin with. And I don't feel like it really benefits anybody other than the 20-second clip that they're going to put on social media, and that's really all we're getting out of it.
But I mean, I think you're getting to a point now where there's a lot of people in journalism and in fairness in politics as well who simply weren't around when the Galway tent was a thing, who weren't around during the time of the brown envelopes. I mean, I have colleagues here that, I mean, if you brought up some of the earlier tribunals and mentioned names like James Gogarty, I mean, they wouldn't have a clue who you were talking about or what you were talking about, that we're sort of harking back to these things that happened years and years ago, and there's a whole new generation to whom it means absolutely nothing.
Absolutely, and the same goes for the Troubles. A lot of the political correspondents in Leinster House are younger. We're all around 30, and the notion of the Galway tent and IRA atrocities and things like that are not things that we have lived through. And I think it's also not things that people are thinking about in their day-to-day life when they're paying €2,000 a month in rent and they want an answer to the housing crisis. So I do think the politicians are a bit institutionalised by, the Dáil Chamber, and they get kind of into this rut, and we have seen this rut week on week with Micheál Martin and Mary Lou McDonald every week, and it's getting to the point now where even in newsrooms, in our newspaper, we're even discussing, is it worth covering leaders' questions? Is it worth taking 45 minutes out of the day to do a story on this, because I could write it every week. Every single Tuesday I could write the same story. So you're at the point now where you're wondering if there's any point in even listening to it.
And the problem with it is it does debase the whole thing, because I mean, you know, it's the purpose of leaders' questions is for the opposition to put, you know, questions to government, and it has its basis in an attempt to actually determine facts, and you know, it should be a very, very important part of the week, because this theoretically is the part of the week where the leader of the country is held to account in full view of the people. And as you say, what's more likely to happen is a pantomimic slagging match.
Yeah, and what I don't want to happen is I do not want the Dáil to turn into the House of Commons. When you watch the House of Commons and the barracking and the shouting and the order, that is not where we want to get to. People want actual answers. People want the government held to account. It's also a time to get the government on record, so we can look back and say, well, you said this on Tuesday the 22nd or whatever it was. It's to get the government on record about what they're doing. And I just feel like the whole thing has become a bit debate, and I just don't want to end up in this kind of Boris Johnson, Keir Starmer slanging match, because I think we're better than this, and I don't think that's what the Irish people want either.
There's actually, it seems to me that what tends to happen is you get the leaders' questions section is first. That's about half an hour. Then you have what's now called questions about promised legislation. Now, we always traditionally called it the order of business. And what will happen is they will start by agreeing the order of business of the day. Sometimes they'll have votes on it if there's questions over how much time has been given to something. And then what will happen is a succession of deputies will ask the Taoiseach or the Taoiseach, whoever happens to be hosting, questions about policy. Now, it's supposed to be questions about bills that are coming up, but very often they'll sneak in questions about topical issues. But that actually can be a lot more informative, and very often that can be the time when you actually get real answers to questions.
Absolutely. We used to not even watch questions on promised legislation, but now it's got to the point where we get better stories and better information from what should be, you know, a kind of note-taking exercise. And it's got to the point now where we're covering that closer than we're covering leaders' questions, because we're not getting anything out of it. I don't know if it's just because COVID is now finished. Housing is back to the forefront of the agenda, but I would say Sinn Féin have started leaders' questions with housing, I would say, nearly every single week for the last year. And I don't know if it's just COVID has kind of subsided and we're kind of looking for a bit of excitement. But the other thing is, no one really lands a punch either. You know, the notion of the Galway tent and the IRA atrocities, it doesn't really land a punch. It doesn't affect either of them in the polls. It doesn't really make that much difference. So you have to wonder why they keep doing it. And these are parties who spend a lot of money on internal polling. And I would venture that the internal polling isn't telling them that this is working, but they keep on at it anyway.
It does seem, though, that I think what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks is the focus seems to be moving now from housing to the cost of living. And I think we'll probably see the cost of living become what housing has been for the past 6 months. That it seems that's really where the real focus is going to be. And the more we get into the Ukraine conflict, as seems inevitable, and the inevitable impact that's going to have on the price of fuel as petrol starts creeping toward €2 a litre at the pump, we're going to see more and more perhaps on cost of living and less emphasis on the housing crisis as such.
Absolutely. You know, we only think the petrol is dear now. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better with the sanctions that they're going to place on Russia. The government said that they would not be making any more announcements in terms of funding when it comes to the cost of living before the budget. I don't believe that. I don't think the government can politically shoulder it if things get more expensive. I think when it comes to fuel, as the days are starting to get even a bit colder, it's snowing in Dublin today, they might have to intervene again, because politically I don't think they'll be able to weather it. So the other part of that is housing is part of the cost of living. So what will probably happen now is we'll probably get a joint barracking when it comes to housing, as it'll be brought into the cost of living as well. But I do think the cost of living has become the forefront of the issue, although I am a bit cynical about it, because I would also make the point that before COVID even came along, we knew how many people in Ireland were living in abject poverty, and we knew that Ireland was already a very expensive place to live. But now it seems it has affected FDI, and you know, big companies are now saying that they're put off Ireland because it's such an expensive place to live, and that is the only reason I think the government and the people in Leinster House have taken a much more decided interest in it.
We'll make a prediction now, and we will predict that in the Dáil today, just after 12 noon, there will be a heated debate about housing and the cost of living between Piers Doherty and Leo Varadkar. And it being a Thursday, I think we can pretty much put our trousers on that today.
Yeah, I'm not betting you any money because that's very expensive to live in Dublin, and I don't want to lose it.
Eva, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning. That's Aoife Moore, their political correspondent with the Irish Examiner. And I don't know if you ever do. It's all online. It's available on TV on the RTE news channels, and you can certainly see it online on oireachtas.ie/Oireachtas TV. All the Dáil proceedings are broadcast online. We monitor the Dáil regularly, and you'll regularly hear us play clips from it. And it has, as Aoife rightly says, become probably the most predictable part of the entire day in Dáil Éireann, that there'll be ding-dong battles between Sinn Féin and the government at 12 noon. And do not be at all surprised if at some stage during the course of this afternoon you'll hear Michaela read a story that opens with the word, there were clashes in the Dáil today between Donegal Deputy Piers Doherty and Taoiseach Leo Varadkar. It's one of those things that has become rather predictable. A few more of your comments before we go for a break, and then we're going to take some music. With regards to the diabetes discussion we had earlier with Councillor Jerry McMonigal, caller says, as a type 1 diabetic with asthma, I tested COVID positive last Friday on an antigen test. I was told when I rang the doctor, if you need help tomorrow, ring us. I tried to ring our surgery's Saturday emergency doctor 45 times on Saturday during the hours they were to be working, but I couldn't get through. I even messaged asking, please ring me back, but nothing. I ended up in A&E at Letterkenny University Hospital on Sunday and got a PCR which was positive. I got antibiotics and steroids, and I have to say they were very helpful at the hospital, working with the challenges they have. I just want to say, if I got 4 or 5 calls from someone, I think I would ring them back, never mind 45. Are there any Medical Council of Ireland guidelines on this? Now, all I can say is I do know, and in fairness, I've had reason to be in contact with doctors' surgeries over the past, shall we say, 3 months, and they are under extreme pressure. And I'm very loath to imply criticism of doctors' surgeries, because I know they're under incredible pressure under the protocols they have to work. Now, that's of absolutely no help to yourself, and I'm sure there's going to be reviews of a lot of this over the course of the coming weeks. All I can say, caller, is we wish you well, and hopefully that's an outlier rather than an experience that everyone is going through. But certainly I do know it can be incredibly difficult to get through to doctors' surgeries at this point in time. It's coming up to 10:30. We're going to take a short break. Back after these.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas, with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
Are you troubled with painful varicose veins? Restore your confidence with vein treatment at Kingsbridge Private Hospital, Letterkenny. Our vascular consultants offer assessment, advice and options on the latest treatments available. So why wait? Say goodbye to varicose veins and hello to healthy legs. With
I read a story in one of the entertainment websites recently that apparently listening to 80s music makes you feel good. And that's a song that always perks up my mood. It's Jane Whelan ex. I say ex of the Go-Go's. She is a Go-Go again. She had left the Go-Go's, went solo, released Rush Hour. Great song. The band then got back together again, and there's actually a great documentary about the Go-Go's available. It's on Sky Documentaries, actually. Really good documentary about the Go-Go's. Belinda Carlisle and Caroline Goffrey and Gina Shock was the drummer, and Kathy Valentine, I think, on bass, wasn't it? Oh, and there was another bass player before Kathy, but I think it's Kathy, Gina, Jane, Caroline, and Belinda Carlisle, of course. The five Go-Go's, great artists. Now, we want to dedicate that song to Anthony Doherty from all the hard-working staff at O'Donnell Meats. And also happy birthday to Caroline Kelly Maxwell working in Ballybofey. Happy 50th, and that's with lots of love from Avian and Rory, and from Sister Louise, and from Hugh as well. Now, we're going to go to St Jude's Court in Lifford, and we've been sent a video by one of the residents there. Now, I've just been watching the video on my phone while the music was playing. We'll strive to get it up on the Highland Radio page, of course, so you can watch it. But I'm joined on the line by Veronica, who is a resident in St Jude's Court in Lifford. Veronica, good morning.
Good morning, Donal.
Veronica, the video you have shown us is a video where there is obviously substantial flooding and running water all over St Jude's Court. It's creating problems, and it's got to the point now where this happens regularly when there's persistent rain.
Yeah, persistent rain, heavy rain. The water will just come pouring through the estate, and the drains are all blocked, so the water has nowhere to go.
In terms of the council, is this one of these cases where it's a private estate that hasn't been taken over by the council yet, and that's at the root of the problem, or is it actually a council-controlled estate?
We don't actually know who controls the estate. Nobody's taken responsibility.
Yeah, because I know there is an ongoing process where at a certain point the council takes an estate over, basically, but there are some, and there have been problems elsewhere, and it'll be interesting to get confirmation on this, actually, to see if this is one of those estates that the council hasn't taken over yet. They're in the process of taking over a few, I believe, so we'll try and just clarify what the actual status of the estate is. But at this point in time, I mean, you're getting no answers from the council and its officials.
No answers from anybody. The contractor, the council, nobody will give us answers.
What's the contractor saying? Because if it isn't a council-controlled estate, then as I understand it, and I stand to correction on this, but if it's not a council-controlled estate at this point, the contractor still has responsibility for it. So if both are denying the responsibility, one of them, it seems, on the face of it, is doing so incorrectly.
Yep, I think the contractor has said that they're in negotiations with the council, so they're not responsible.
Yeah, that would suggest the council hasn't taken over yet. In terms of the actual councillors themselves, you have some very active and good councillors in the Lifford-Stranorlar area. Have any of those been able to help or offer any insight?
No. Maybe 3 years ago, one of the local councillors did come out. He looked at the amount of water, and one of the houses, the garden was actually being flooded. They had to lift the manhole covers in the garden to get rid of the water, and the councillor just turned around and said, yes, something needs to be done about this, and we haven't heard anything since.
Now, obviously the councillor would have raised it, one presumes, with officials and raised it at municipal district level at meetings there, but ultimately nothing's been done. You're now in a situation, you believe, where you have broken drain covers, blocked drains, and it would appear on the face of it that if it's a case of blocked drains, one good day's drain blocking could have a transformative effect on that particular area.
It could, yeah. Like you can see the debris and the mud sitting over the top of the drain covers. They are completely blocked, the ones that aren't broken.
And presumably then it is having an effect on gardens, because, I mean, the water has to go somewhere, and if it's not going down the drain, then it's going to flood. But there is also a possibility of water being pushed up through the drains in individual houses and starting to flood driveways and gardens as well. Has that been happening?
Yes, it happens to a few of them, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually in a situation where several years ago now, the estate I live in, is an older estate, and it is in council control, and we were having a problem with that, where a drain just outside our house was blocking, and the water was coming up into the garden, and the council just sent out a lorry, and they took care of it in one day, just made a huge difference. And it seems to me that should be the case, that one good push at something like your estate, with new drain covers and where necessary more runoff drainage space and piping, I mean, should be able to address this issue. And the problem is you're being pushed from pillar to post rather than actually giving answers.
Yeah, that's the way it seems at the minute, yeah.
Well, I suppose all we can do, Veronica, is, I mean, we'll strive to put the video up on our own website. You have it up on Facebook. It's going to be shared, I'm sure. And, you know, there is nothing like visual evidence. And as I said, I certainly watched the video there while that song was playing. And it's striking, the impact that this water is having. And it certainly shouldn't be happening on any estate. And hopefully this will focus minds. And if there are negotiations, which hopefully will lead to the council taking over, perhaps that video and the reaction to it will focus people's minds as well, in terms of getting a positive response. All we can do in the meantime, Veronica, is say, look, we wish you and the residents well, and hopefully this will be resolved sooner rather than later. Well,
thank you, Donal, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to highlight it, and hopefully we'll get something done. Yep. As I say,
it's our pleasure, Veronica, and we would just say to people, look, I mean, go to our website, go to other websites, just see what this is, because, you know, Veronica and I could talk, you know, all morning, but the reality is you spend 2 minutes looking at that video and you will see exactly what the problem is, and it will demonstrate it far more than any discussion like this. Let's go back to some of your comments. Caller says, I own a business. I've experienced hard times, losses and price increases, just like the pig farmers, but I never received a penny. I'm sure with the rise in fuel and electricity prices, other businesses will be hit. Will we receive a support scheme? So asks a caller. Caller says, we're trying this past 6 weeks to get a refund from the council for the engineer's report. We keep being told it'll be issued soon. That's not helping us. We're stuck while our home continues to fall. I do know there are discussions taking place today on the micro response, and I know that council officials are waiting to get clearance from the government to implement the revised scheme. We're hoping that will happen quickly. There are a lot of hoops to be jumped through. And I know there are a lot of people on Donegal County Council who want to move on this and would love to move on this a lot quicker than they can. But they are awaiting clearance from government. There are discussions taking place today, and we'll obviously be getting a report from those discussions. Hopefully something can come out of this and we can see this happening, because a lot of people are in that particular situation as we speak. It's Highland Radio. It's 17 minutes to 10 o'clock. We're going to take a short break.
The good times are back. The highly acclaimed Joe Dolan Show Remembering Joe is back in Letterkenny for one night only. And what a party it will be. St. Patrick's Night, Thursday, March 17th, eve of the bank holiday at the Clanry Hotel. The spectacular show starring brother Ben Dolan, nephews Adrian and Ray, niece Sandra, Karen Carroll, plus the original Joe Dolan Band will have you rocking and rolling in the aisles at the Clanry. Celebrate our national holiday in style. Tickets now available at the Clanry Hotel, 07491 24369. Remember, there's no show like a Joe show. Always a sellout. Book now.
Dear Daniel, ever since you burst out of Donegal and onto the music scene, I've been your biggest fan. And when you came to visit, I could have died. And when you offered to fix my boiler, I could have died, Daniel, because you're not a registered gas installer. I'm returning all your albums and my rhinestone-studded I Love Daniel jacket. Goodbye forever, from Mary. P.S. Daniel, you can find your local registered gas installer at rgii.ie.
Donegal Hearing Clinic, now open at Pierce Road, Letterkenny and Buncrana, now offering state-of-the-art rechargeable hearing aids free with your PRSI. Also pain-free microsuction wax removal services. Call 07491 88470 or donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic.
Visit Derry and experience a world of difference just over the border. See the historic walls, the waterfront and the famous chill-off licences at Da Vinci, White House, Coolmore, Hatmore and Shantallow, which for some reason have suddenly become the #1 attraction. So visit Derry and leave with more than just memories. Please drink responsibly. See drinkaware.ie.
Win with low prices from Super Value. With great offers like Super Value fresh cod fillets and Irish strip loin steak, save 33%. Epic! Nikki soft toilet tissue 32 roll, only €7. Super! And Campo Viejo Reserva 6-pack case deal, €50. Winning! Win with Super Value low prices. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Ronaldo, De Bruyne, Cavani. You can now see both Manchester teams in action with Ryanair's twice weekly service to Manchester. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Okey-doke, let's look at the weather forecast and then we'll go directly to our next call on Zoom. Very cold with icy stretches on untreated surfaces, some sunny spells and scattered showers of sleet, snow and hail with the potential for isolated thunderstorms. Now through the afternoon and evening, the snow showers will become mainly confined to higher ground. It'll stay windy with fresh to strong west to southwest winds, potentially turning stormy for a time this afternoon. Highest temperatures this afternoon just 4 to 6 degrees Celsius, but it will feel colder due to the wind chill. Now early tonight we will see some clear spells and scattered showers of rain or sleet. It will become drier though, with showers becoming isolated, staying cold with minimum temperatures -1 to +2 degrees Celsius. Some frost and ice possible. Breezy early in the night with fresh and gusty westerly winds. They'll gradually ease light to moderate overnight. Tomorrow morning cold and dry with sunny spells, and any frost and ice will clear. Cloud will increase later in the day, bringing patches of drizzle. It'll be milder with afternoon temperatures 7 to 9, mostly light to moderate breezes. Fresh to strong southerly winds will develop later in the west. So the message is, only get out there if you have to get out there, and if you can stay warm inside, then stay warm inside. That would appear to be the advice. Now we're going to Zoom, and what we're going to discuss on Zoom this morning is Fair Trade Fortnight in Donegal, and Joanne Butler is Development Officer with Changemakers. Joanne, good morning.
Hello, how are you doing, Donal?
Very well indeed. Joanne, Fair Trade Fortnight in the county now. Obviously what Changemakers would much prefer, I'm sure, is Fair Trade 365 days. But this is an attempt to engage, educate and inspire people to support Fair Trade. Tell us what's happening.
Yeah, so Fair Trade Fortnight's an opportunity for us just to do that, to spread the word about the fair trade and what fair trade actually means. Fair trade is a system, it's a certification system, and it aims to ensure that the set of standards are met in production and supply of product or ingredients worldwide. So things like your coffee, your tea, your bananas, your wine, your chocolate and your sugar, for example, are really good fair trade items. These are items that we can't get locally, so that by going for the fair trade standard, it means that for us shoppers that we know that there's ethical standards behind that. So that would be fair rights, safe working environments and also fair pay.
Now we know that the council itself has been striving to adopt its own fair trade policy, so only using fair trade products where possible and only using contractors who use fair trade products where possible. How successful has that been?
Well, with Changemakers, we are supporting and promoting towns in the county, and they work with the local county council to make sure that there hopefully is fair trade tea and coffee at the meetings and things like that. So hopefully that's going well with the fair trade towns, because they're in connection with the council for that. And this year we're hoping to connect more with county council to adopt a fair trade county. With that, we're doing the online helps, because last year we were obviously all online, but this year we're out and about as well. But the online helps us engage with all towns that are fair trade, but also new towns that would like to be fair trade. So hopefully in the future we will see all of Donegal adopting the fair trade standard.
At the moment, Carndonagh and Dunfanaghy are fair trade towns. Buncrana has a bid and hopefully will be shortly, but that's just scraping the surface really. You'd like to see, I'm sure, Letterkenny, Ballybofey, Stranora, Ballyshannon, Bundoran, Dunlow, Burton Port. The list is endless. You'd like to see all towns in the county strive for this designation.
That's it, yeah. And it's very exciting because like Dunfanaghy there this time 2 years ago, we were just going on to the dreaded lockdown, were just about to get their fair trade status. And working with them, with Changemakers, has been really exciting because they've developed as a town, as a group, and they're about to get their signs up. This year they're running a competition, a crossword. They're having coffee mornings. They're also doing cookie events throughout the schools. And also they've developed the Support Fair Trade stickers that are now available. You can see them in all the shops. So it's really exciting to see a town develop into a fair trade town. Karen Donna's been going for 6 or 7 years now, and this year they are doing an amazing event in person in the Colgan Hall. That'll be on Friday the 4th of March with lots of stall holders and also performances and tasting samples as well. So it's really exciting for the fair trade towns in existence. And then any new fair trade towns like Buncrana are starting to develop and do events as well. So this opportunity of the fortnight really gives the towns a chance. And any new towns that want to get involved, they can just contact us at Changemakers.
And there is, of course, a huge focus now on sustainability and green tourism and so on. And one would assume that we're going to get to the point where things like fair trade designations are going to form part of the decision-making process when people are considering holidays, when people are considering trips. They're going to start considering things like fair trade designation, green tourism designations and so on when they're making those decisions. So it could very well be in the economic interest of a town to get this designation, as well as being in the interest of just doing the right thing.
Of course, yeah, and I think that people are more switched on now, especially to the ethical rights, when we can see, worldwide what would happen that if the rights aren't fair for the people and the employers in another country. So for us to be able to promote that and to be able to support that locally just means that we've got that the opportunity to promote that we are choosing the world that we want to live in. And of course, that having the fair trade sign up on your town is a great, as an ambassador of fair trade, is a great thing to have.
And how difficult is it for a town to get that designation, and how much work is involved in getting it? Because I know certainly there are people that I know personally in Letterkenny and in the Twin Towns and elsewhere in Donegal who would be very interested in this and who, try to live their own fair trade lives, and they'd be very interested in getting involved with their local communities. How does one go about actually seeking this designation?
Well, Changemakers works very closely with Fair Trade Ireland, and Fair Trade Ireland have developed a guidebook. So you've got your goals. I think there's 4 or 5 goals that you need to achieve. First of all, you get the group together, then you go through it's kind of like you work with communities, the councils, the businesses in your local area. But Changemakers are fully supportive and promote the town, so we can come on board and we can help you achieve those goals as well. And it's part of our objectives to do that. So if anybody, wants to get involved, we can help them through those goals.
And have you had interest from other towns, as you say, Buncrana seeking the designation at the moment? Are you getting more interest from Donegal? Is there more awareness as we see other towns develop? I'm sure the word will start getting around to the other neighbouring towns as well. I mean, are you seeing evidence that that's happening?
Well, in the past, Donegal Town and Mayville Town had got the fair trade status, and we still work with them, because this year with our online lunchtime speaker event, we're actually involving Mayville as well with the farm shop, and also in Donegal Town we've got Stella's Boutique. But new towns are coming on board. We've got Ardra who have just done the transition town work, and they are looking hopefully to become a fair trade town as well in the future.
Excellent. Joanne, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us this morning. Exciting times, and as you say, there are various events happening both in person and online. Where can people go to get that information and to learn more?
Yes, so Changemakers has all the events now up on their Facebook page, which is Changemakers Donegal. We've also got Instagram, Twitter, all the usual, but our website is changemakers.ie. And if you just go into the events page there, you'll find the information. But if anybody wants any information, to get in touch with me or ourselves at changemakers@inishowen.ie, and we can help and support any new groups out there.
And Fair Trade Fortnight in Donegal began on Monday the 21st and runs until March the 6th. Joanne, thanks indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thanks, Donal. Thank you.
That is Joanne there, who was speaking to us on Zoom. And let's now just look at some of your comments before we go for a break. A caller says, I have to say I totally agree with that farmer. The government and industry have destroyed our land. We need a totally different direction in this instance that embraces nature and brings life back into our little island, so says a caller. a message that came through, and I'm just going to read this out to you. Again, it's about farming in Donegal. The caller says, I'm sending this in the hope that it gets read out. As a small farmer living and working in Donegal all my life, I'm 45, I can say without doubt that the last 2 years have been probably the most challenging of my life. I'm sure by now your screen has seen plenty of text messages along the lines of typical crying farmer. This is a tag that farmers in this country have been struck with for many years, and in some cases it is deserved. However, in a lot of cases it's a title that's thoroughly undeserved. While I was listening to your show on Monday of this week, you were discussing the mica issue with a caller who was raising the problem facing people who have mica affected buildings that are not just family homes. A person texted in and made the comment, crying farmers looking for a handout, and followed this with, from a very angry taxpayer. I mean, I wonder, does this person think I do myself? Do I not pay tax like everyone? This, I believe, comes down to simple ignorance. The texter, while no doubt feeling very aggrieved about farm subsidies, is simply wrong in their thinking. Farm subsidies were introduced to reduce the price of farm produce to the consumer. In the beginning, the subs were a tool to reduce the price of meat that was being paid by the average family. However, like most things in life, it was soon to be taken advantage of by some and frankly destroyed by others. In my youth in the early 90s, it was not uncommon for a farmer to receive £2 punt per kilo and more for animals sold at the local mart. This at a time when the cost of living in the country was a tiny fraction of what we're facing today. I recently sold year-old bulls at a local mart. To my surprise, I was told by people I've known all my life about how well I had done to get my animals to the price of €235 per kilo. I don't think it's necessary for me to tell you the difference between the buying power of my euro today compared with the power of my punt in the early 1980s. So to come to a point as a farmer facing another year where things seem to be stumbling from bad to worse on a nearly daily basis, I don't hold much hope for the small farmers in this country, never mind this county. As a farmer, I now have the added bonus of being responsible for destroying the environment, or so it seems at least. I could rant on about how the wonderful EU has agreed to take beef from South America, where tens of thousands of acres of rainforest are being felled to produce more grassland, while I'm soon to be almost forced to reduce my animal numbers. In conclusion, beef farming has become almost pointless. My yearly income has dropped below €4,000 for the third year in a row. The price I receive for what I sell has stayed almost on a level for many years now. My cost, along with everyone else's, has been rising like a rocket. So if your listeners hear a crying farmer, instead of jumping to conclusions, try asking them why they're complaining. There is likely a good reason. And that is a perspective from a farmer, and it's important that we hear it. Another caller says, I just want to tell you briefly about a variation of the I need money for the bus to Galway scam. A man came into the bus station today. It was raining at the time. The bad weather was the conversation opener. He goes straight into a story where he's going to kill his boss tomorrow when he gets back to his town. He starts telling me he's just at a hospital, even has an ID band done, but you don't get a good look at it. He ended up in hospital because something happened when he was driving a lorry. His boss is now apparently not answering his phone. He's no money to get back to Sligo on the bus. He wonders, will the driver let him on the bus without money? He then heads off to look at the timetables. Just as he's coming back in my direction, my bus was leaving and I had to go. I don't know if he tried it with anyone else. I remember getting caught with that story before. I gave a person a tenner, as I think he was €10 short. As far as I remember, he got on the bus at the time. If someone was genuinely stuck, it wouldn't cost me a thought to throw them a 10 or a 20. It's when you know they're telling you a pile of shite that makes it annoying. My other pal used to keep missing his bus to Galway, was doing the rounds one day last week. I'd say he must have tried that story, or he will be again. If you're around the bus station often, you'll get to recognise the lads who are pulling the scams. So says one of our callers, and I suppose it's one to be aware of. There are always people who are going to prey on the goodness of others. I actually got a WhatsApp message the other day from a number I didn't recognise, and it just said, "Hi Dad, this is my new number." Now, given that I have two children and both were actually at the table with me having tea at the time, I knew it wasn't either of them. So I said to my son, I said, someone's after sending me a message, I must message them back and tell them they've got the wrong number in case, and my son said, "It's a scam, Dad." And I said, what? And he said, "Trust me, it's a scam, and the whole point is that they'll say, oh, it's my number, and it's aimed toward parents who are away from their..." Now, both my children, they're in their late 20s, but they both live with us. So obviously they weren't with me at the time, so it wasn't one of them. But say, if you have a child who's abroad or whatever, or living down the country, and they send you a text, "Oh, this is my new number." So you message back and say, "Lovely, thanks." And then they text back and say, "Oh, by the way, I'm short." You could fall for it that way. I want to take a short break. News headlines with Catherine after these.
What was that?
Oh, probably just the elephant.
Serengeti Safari? Could be. Tune in this Friday to Highland Radio.
The Groom's Room at Evolve Clothing in the Letterkenny Retail Park has the best value and selection in suiting for your wedding day.
At Smith's Daleside, we offer a wide range of yo feed, rich in high-pro soya, cereals, vitamin E and selenium. Smith's Daleside, market leaders since 1865. Call us today on 074 9171 300.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
As life starts to get back to a new normal, it's time that we look after what is precious to us. Are you struggling with your hearing? Your hearing is an essential part of everyday living. Hearing is our social sense and connects you to friends and family. At Connect Hearing, we're here for you, with our clinics at Courtyard Shopping Centre, Letterkenny, and Joyce's Chiropody Clinic in Dunlow. Our centres are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing tests, wax removal and repair services. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
If you're starting a new business in 2022, call into BizPrint today and get sorted. Logo design, invoice books, business cards and all your printing needs. Call BizPrint at Port Road, Letterkenny on 91777955 or visit bizprint.ie.
Your Lancome free gift is waiting for you at McElhinney's. Simply buy 2 Lancome products and receive the ultimate beauty routine. Your gift includes a full-size rose sugar scrub, a 7-piece travel set including many of your Lancome favourites. Plus, choose from our Absolute or Hydrozen skincare collection to complete your gift. Exclusively in-store and online at mcelhinneys.com until March 13th.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's a minute past 11 o'clock. Time for headlines. We say good morning. Catherine Gaffney.
Thanks, Donal. Good morning. Huge traffic jams can be seen in Kiev after explosions were heard in the Ukrainian capital overnight. They followed Vladimir Putin's announcement of a Russian military operation in the east of the country, saying he was determined to end 8 years of conflict. Missile attacks have also been reported along Ukraine's border. The provision of 2 new multi-million euro business enterprise and innovation centres in Letterkenny is officially a step closer. The project under the Council's Part 8 development process has been given the green light at a special meeting of the Council today. The proposed development will include the demolition of the former ESB retail and office premises and existing sheds to the rear of the site located on the Pierce Road. Serious concern has been raised that an 80-year-old sewerage pipe is set to remain in Kerry. Irish Water is currently carrying out work on a new sewage treatment system along the main street in the village. However, the old pipe in question is not going to be replaced as part of the works. It's understood that the sewer has had a history of blockages and leaks. Social distancing pods and bubbles are gone, and sporting activities, music, singing and breakfast clubs can all resume in schools from Monday. It's part of new guidance issued to schools by the Department of Education last night, which is encouraging them to return to normal routines and activities. The Foreign Affairs Minister has been urged to examine the findings of the Greenwich Report. In particular, the Minister is being asked to focus on details as it relates to a former UDR member believed to have been involved in a number of murders, including that of Donegal councillor Eddie Fullerton in 1991. And work on a long-awaited one-way system in the heart of Letterkenny is to begin next month. The traffic system was first proposed back in 2018, but had been stalled due to funding constraints. That's it for now. We're back with more at 12 noon.
Well, Davy, brilliant that you weren't in work today. We had some crack. It was Peter's last shift, so we all went out for lunch. Thanks for staying away. The lads are delighted. Chat to you soon. Mind yourself.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
It's the third and final hour of the 9 till noon show today. Caller says, just to clarify one thing, pig farmers don't get any grants from Europe. A lot of comments were saying farmers are getting too much funding already, not pig farmers. Another caller says the importance of homegrown food now with the thought of World War III ahead is vital. We should be supporting our farmers. We're all forgetting the importance of homegrown food and knowing it's local and traceable. I'm sick of people slagging off our farmers. Remember this, no farmers, no food. I just want to share with you another message that we got. It's from a caller who says, "Hi Donal, I'm 27 years old. I live at home with my folks and siblings. I hope you can air my wee rant for me. I was on job seekers allowance benefit till Tuesday passed. I leave my work docket in the welfare office every Tuesday to show the days I was lucky enough to have worked and the days I wasn't working for the week. I do sub work and I'm fortunate enough that I might get a day or two a week subbing for someone. However, in the middle of January, when schools started back, I was lucky enough to get almost a full month's work due to COVID with ones being off. I was still handing in my dockets every week to the welfare office indicating I'd worked for the full week, so I wouldn't be getting any payment from welfare. This past Tuesday, I was leaving my docket up again and I hadn't worked the days the previous week, so I was due money from social welfare, which didn't come into my account. When I left my docket, I was asked, was my money late or what was the situation? And to my surprise, I was told I was cut off because they believed I was in full employment because I'd worked a few weeks Monday to Friday and I was handing in a form to get on job seekers again the next day. After thinking on it that evening and night, a new application could take up to 3 weeks to come through. But not even that. The fact that I was cut off without any notice or warning, even though I was leaving dockets for every week indicating I was working, not one of them thought about saying to me or asking me the question after looking at my dockets, did I get full-time employment? I would have told them no, I was only subbing for someone. The next day when I rang the office, it was made out like it was my fault for working consecutive days that I was cut off. It's just frustrating now filling out these forms again, and now an extra means test form that I have to fill in, and it must be new because I never had to fill it out before, asking what my other siblings are earning. Not that it should matter to welfare, there's no millionaires here anyway. I hope this finds you well. Just wonder, has anyone else experienced anything like this? That is an interesting one, and it does certainly point to an issue that if someone is, and in fairness, they're doing the absolute right and honest thing. They're handing in their dockets and they're stating exactly what's happening, but they've been cut off without notice. And surely, if you're about to be cut off, at the least you could get is a phone call saying, look, what's the situation? Now, we believe that one there. I want to go to line one, and I want to go to Oksana, who is a Ukrainian native who is currently living in Letterkenny. Oksana, good morning.
Good morning.
Oksana, it must be a very difficult time for you at the moment, looking at the news and looking at what's happening in your native country.
Well, it was a terrifying morning because I got a call from my brother and he told me that's it, the war started. And we're trying to leave Kiev because he's currently living in Kiev. So he was on the way to his family to pick them up. And when I heard that, I couldn't believe. But when I started reading in news on the internet, I realized it really happened, and the cities are under the bombs, and people scared. And never, since Second World War, people never in Ukraine heard the bombing alarms, especially in Kiev. So this was just horrible.
We know there are major traffic jams in Kiev as people try to get out, but we understand there are issues now with the airport and very serious question marks over whether people heading for the airport will be able to get flights out.
No, they are not. Every airport, a part of the major one in Kiev, they all destroyed. So at the moment, as far as I know, borders closed. So people just trying to get a safer place, maybe on another side of Ukraine. So what they do, they try to use any chances. So cars, buses, everything, what's possible, walking even. So whoever panicking, not everybody leaving, but still there's a big number of people who are just scared. They're trying to move to, as they think, more safer place, but I don't believe there's any safe place right now at the moment in Ukraine because it's bombing everywhere.
Russia claims that it is effectively protecting the two breakaway regions to the east, that it is recognising as independent states, a recognition that is not shared or given by any other state, and certainly is also rejected by the United Nations. Is it your fear now that Russia will move beyond those two states and will start heading toward Kiev, and that we'll effectively see Russia launch what will be an all-out war against Ukraine?
They already did it. They already invented, and they started bombing every city who has airport or any military base. So it's nothing to do with the occupied territory. It's nothing to do with Luhansk or Donetsk. There's the people living there, So they have already done it, and I think they will move forward, of course.
And the fear is that we will sooner rather than later see Russian troops in Kiev.
I'm not sure about Kiev. It really depends how Ukrainian forces will react, and I hope they finally will start doing something, because it's just, I don't know, it's just terrifying. Ukrainian army has to protect people. So, but if they start fighting back, unfortunately, people start dying, because it's just...
At this point, it seems that Russia is trying to paint itself as a protector. So any action taken by the Ukrainian forces presumably then will be portrayed by Russia as an attack on Russia, and Russia will have no choice but to defend itself. That would appear to be the direction that Vladimir Putin is heading in. That's going to get absolutely no credence outside of Russia itself. Certainly isn't going to get credence in Ukraine, and it seems no other state and certainly the UN is not going to sort of offer that any credence. But that doesn't make it any less worrying for yourself and others who are looking at what's happening.
Well, when I heard his last speech, the Putin speech, and when he said that Ukrainian will never exist, so what kind of conversation you can have with such a person who is head of the biggest country in the world and saying that another country never existed? So he doesn't need any excuses to intervene in Ukraine. He just do it because he doesn't want to realize that the independence of Ukraine, and was never official referendum over there in that territories. That's why that's happening. Because he doesn't want to see Ukraine in NATO, it doesn't mean that he has to just start the war. There is always a way to solve problems without it.
And the fear appears to be now that war is inevitable, given what you know about Ukrainian politics, and obviously given what you know about the tensions between Russia and Ukraine, and they have always been there. In many ways, I'm sure, for you and for your family, this isn't something new. That tension's always been bubbling under the surface. But are you more afraid now than you've been before?
Of course, because now they start really acting. The tanks is there, on the border. There's real bombs. That's a real war. That's not a word. That's a bombs now already. And I know people who live in that area, occupied territory, Donetsk and Luhansk. They see these bombs every day, and people are dying there. So I don't think there's no doubts that he will move forward. I don't know who will stop him.
You have no confidence that the Ukrainian army can win this conflict. It would appear almost unthinkable that ultimately, if it goes to full-scale war, that the Ukrainian army could defeat Russia.
If it starts the open fight, I mean total mobilization, and everybody will take a gun and start fight, then probably it's possible that it will be stopped. For now, we just use our regular army. And it really depends what he's going to do. He doesn't use everybody in his army, so Ukraine doesn't use as well everybody in our army.
Yeah.
We just, it's just a start, let's say. Everybody keep thinking that it will be a diplomatic way to sort this out.
What can the international community do at this point?
We will see. The sanctions what they provide is not enough. And I'm not sure that European countries are ready to lose the fuel, oil, gas. So it will be a very tough conversation from this point of view.
Is it your fear that rather than looking at this from the point of view of the welfare of the people of Ukraine, the international community is going to look at this with questions like, what impact is this going to have on the price of oil? What impact is this going to have on the price of gas? That it will become an economic concern rather than a humanitarian concern?
Yes. I would say if it comes to the stage, we need to discuss the prices here on the fuel grow up already. So I'm not sure that people are ready to sacrifice the economical advantage rather than think about people in Ukraine, because they're not living there. It's not their war. And from that point, I understand them. I don't know what our president is going to do, but I think they should find a way to sort that. At least to stop bombing, because that's death every day.
Do you hold out any hope that diplomacy at this point could still work?
I want to believe that it can work. I want to believe if it doesn't, then it has to be probably military support, and maybe other nations should be involved in it. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm very far from it. I'm here in the moment.
Yeah.
It's useless.
And it must be very difficult when you're living in Letterkenny, where life appears to go on, looking, at what's happening in your own native country, and you're seeing it on TV screens, and because now of social media and everything, you're hearing about it 24 hours a day, and your family is there, and you can talk to them, but by the same token, you're also really concerned for them and for their welfare.
Yeah, it's hard. Every day is something new, but no one expected that it will start this morning. Like very early morning, people were sleeping in the beds and heard the bombs. So it was just unexpected in a sense. And I don't want to hear calls from my relatives today that I woke up because of bombs.
Yeah. In terms of the situation in Ukraine, we know there are the separatist regions in the east of the country, Donetsk and the other one. In terms of the rest of the country, what's the situation politically? Is there unity in Ukraine? Does the government have the level of support that it would need to sustain it at a time like this?
I think as in every country we have some disagreements inside, political parties, and it always was there and always will be. But in general, Ukraine is a peaceful nation. So it doesn't mean that all this conflict has to be resolved through the war. So for now, I think everybody understands, everyone who lives in Ukraine, that no one needs the war. So they are united in that, and they're going to defend the country. I don't know which way, but they should have do that, because they believe they have a right to live in their own land, no matter what the neighbor dictates to do.
Now, Ukraine has made it clear it's going to put to one side any plans it may have been considering of joining NATO. That appears not to have been enough. But as Ukraine was looking more toward NATO and toward the West, do you believe that the West now needs to look toward Ukraine and give Ukraine the level of support and the level of help that it would have given Ukraine had Ukraine gone ahead and joined NATO?
Well, according to Constitution, we have to have a referendum about it first, and then we will see. If everybody, majority, will say yes, then it will be at least the voice of Ukrainians regarding this question. For now, I don't think Ukraine is ready in general to get to NATO.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if it was my point of view, I would say with such a neighbor, I would love to be in NATO. At least I would sleep calm and know that if something happens, we will be protected.
And ironically, in the long term, it could be the case that Vladimir Putin, by his actions, actually almost forces Ukraine into NATO rather than prevents it from happening.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Effect of bomb.
Yeah. Oksana, I know it must be really difficult, and all we can say is our thoughts are with you, and I recognise how inadequate that is as a response, but we certainly wish you and your family well, and it behoves all of us, I think, to remember that when we discuss something like Ukraine, we talk about geopolitical this, and we talk about international relations and diplomacy that, but as is always the case, at the heart of this are people like your family in Kiev and elsewhere in Ukraine who today are very worried indeed. And let us never forget that. Oksana, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you.
We wish you well, Oksana. You take care. And that was Oksana there speaking to us from Letterkenny, a native of Ukraine. And as you said, she's been speaking to her family this morning, and very, very concerning times indeed, as we've been hearing on the news from Catherine, that we have had explosions audible from Kiev this morning, and it is a very concerning situation indeed. We're going to move on now and speak to a marine biologist. Sean O'Callaghan is a marine biologist, and he joins us. Sean, good morning to you.
Hi, Donal. How are you?
Very well indeed. Sean, we're hearing that souvenir hunters may be responsible for the removal of the jaws of 2 sperm whales that washed up on the Mahari coast. Tell us what's happened here.
Yeah, Donal. So Wednesday last week, 2 sperm whales were reported to the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group and in along the Donegal coast. So there was one in Malin and one in the west. And it seems within a day or so, the one that was in Mary was the jaw was taken off the animal. But then on Friday, I heard that the whale in Malin had its jaw removed. So it's an unfortunate thing that happens when these sperm whales wash up. Often the jaws are removed by people either as souvenirs, as you say, or maybe to sell the teeth that are in the jaw.
Now, that is, and you've pointed this out this morning, that is illegal.
Yeah. So sperm whales are a protected species in Irish waters, and part of the protection for these animals includes the body parts from these whales. So if you're in possession of any body part from these animals, you have to have a license from the National Parks and Wildlife Service. And in addition to this, it's illegal to sell these teeth under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, which is called CITES. So it's CITES is the acronym for it. So if these teeth were removed for the purpose of selling them, then it's illegal. It's sperm whale teeth are sold in other parts of the world, like in the Azores and Madeira, where they were killed in very high numbers up until the 1980s. But those whales were from whaling times, so those body parts are eligible to be sold. But since that point, it's not allowed. But it's very hard to police. So if the teeth are indeed sold, to be honest, I don't know where the teeth end up, but it's always often the case that once these sperm whales wash up in Ireland and in other countries, that the jaw is sawed off quite quickly. And even in doing that, it's very disrespectful to the animal to remove the jaw like that, but it just happened, unfortunately.
I am presuming that in both these instances the animals were deceased, but we do know that on several occasions whales have been washed up on Irish beaches, and they have been at the time still alive. Occasionally they can be successfully brought back into the water. More usually, sadly, that isn't the case. Can you confirm that in both these instances the whales were already deceased?
Yeah. Both of these sperm whales in Donegal were dead for some time, and they had been floating at sea. So I saw the Malin head whale myself, and you could see the skin had been picked away by the birds while it was floating on the sea, and its sort of normal colour only remained on the parts of the whale that was underwater. The other whale was quite thin, but it still had been dead for some time as well.
But that doesn't make any difference to the fact that this is illegal practice, and the rigours of the law could be brought on those who, if they are found doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just an unfortunate thing that goes on, and I don't know of any convictions in Ireland, but in the UK a few years ago there was a couple who were convicted of smuggling sperm whale teeth that they had taken from animals in the UK, and they were trying to fly them over to America. And the reason they were bringing the teeth there was because there's a trade called scrimshaw. So it's where animal bones and parts are etched into to create artistic works, which is something whalers used to do in the olden times. And it seems to be a relatively big thing in the US. It became very popular in the 60s when John F. Kennedy was president, because on his desk in the Oval Office he actually collected scrimshaw from sperm whales. So it seems that might be the sort of the driver for if the teeth were sold, but I don't know the specifics. It's something that keeps reoccurring, but it's very hard to monitor.
And of course, the Kennedys would have had a home at Kennebunkport in Maine, and that would have been traditionally whaling country. So that would have been probably something that would have been in the family for quite some time.
Yeah. They would have been quite close to Nantucket, which was the centre of whaling for sperm whales in the 1700s. It's sort of the famous hub, or New Bedford as well, like where Moby Dick was based out of, and Moby Dick was a sperm whale too. So you have that sort of link there.
In terms of the removal of the jaws, it does suggest something that's slightly more organised than if people were taking one tooth as a souvenir for themselves. The fact that the entire jaw is being taken would be a suggestion that this is being done with a view towards either sale or moving those teeth on, be it individual teeth or the whole jaw as a single whole.
It might be the case. There is some logistics involved in like first sawing the jaw off and then removing it from the beach. In the case of Mellon Head, it was quite a difficult beach to even walk on because of all the small stones and pebbles. But you could drive very close to it, so if you tied a rope to it, you'd be able to pull it with the car up. People tend to come down to these animals and take souvenirs anyway, and it's usually the teeth that draw a lot of people. And like, some teeth were removed when I was looking at the animal on the weekend, and often people don't get the entire tooth. They'll saw the top of the tooth off because it's easier to do than taking the tooth that's below the gum line. And sawing the jaw is the easiest way really to remove a lot of teeth in one moment. But the teeth have a huge scientific value though, because if you have a whole tooth and you cut the tooth in half, you can count the growth rings inside of the tooth, like on a tree, so you can actually get the age of the whale. So it's the teeth are quite valuable to understand these animals. So it can be difficult when you want to sample an animal and get an idea of its age, when somebody has already taken most of the teeth, the easier to access teeth. And it's not just sperm whales. I know of a case a few years ago where a killer whale stranded in Mayo, I think it was 2010, and researchers went up to work on the animal and try to understand it. But by the time they arrived, somebody had used a chainsaw or some sort of electric saw to try and take the jaw or the skull, and they really defaced the animal, and they ruined it from that perspective. If the specimen could be collected for a museum, say, that possibility is pretty much removed when they get so badly damaged.
Are we seeing an increase in such beachings and whales washing up on the coast? Because it seems to me, and this is just an utterly personal perspective, that we've been covering more stories about stranded whales and beached whales in recent times than we would have done in the past. I mean, is there evidence of that, or is that just an aberration in my own head?
So in this particular case, Donal, it's unusual that two sperm whales turned up on the same day, but and they had been dead for some time, but we don't know what actually killed these animals. They could have died of natural causes, or there could be a variety of factors. But what brought them ashore was undeniably the big storm systems we had the last week or so. Because over the entire winter, it's been very, very mild and calm, with no winds to actually bring any animals ashore that would be out there. Over the last few years, there has been an increase in common dolphins stranding, and it's been monitored by the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group and their stranding scheme, which records these animals when they wash up. But we just have to see if these storms will bring in more animals, and if more deep divers like the sperm whales wash up along the Irish coast over the next few weeks, just to see if anything unusual is going on, or just to monitor the trends and see what happens. If these animals wash up in a more fresher condition, or died more recently before washing up, then maybe there would be possibilities of investigating their cause of death, or getting vets who would know a lot more about the anatomy of these animals to understand maybe what happened to them.
Right.
So it's important to record them.
Okie doke, Sean O'Callaghan, marine biologist, thanks very much indeed. And just to let people remember that if you do have a beached whale, a whale washed up on a local beach, I mean, and you want to consider taking the teeth or the jaw or whatever, that it is illegal, and please refrain from so doing. Sean, thanks indeed for speaking to us this morning.
No problem. problem. Thank you, Donal.
Thank you very much.
Homeland Fuel offers, keeping you warm for less. 20 kg EcoBright, buy 5 bags for €50. Softwood logs, 3 bags for €10. 1 kg fire logs, 4 for €5. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Open your future by attending the Northwest Regional College Open Day. This is your opportunity to visit your local campus, to tour the fabulous facilities, sample the NWRC experience and apply for your course. Running from 12 noon each day, beginning 1st of March, Strabane campus, 2nd of March, Strand Road and Springtown campuses, and 3rd of March, Limavady and Greystone campuses. Register to attend today to win a high-spec laptop. Northwest Regional College Open Day. This is your future.
Thousands of hectares of land targeted for re-wetting. For more in this week's Farmers' Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal the EU proposals which could see over 100,000 hectares of farm peatland re-wetted. Ban on one-off rural housing ruled out by Minister. Dairy Group talk cow cap and farmer compensation for tackling climate change. And will you make money from putting solar panels in your sheds?
Plus, how to make the most of spring fertiliser. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers' Journal, on sale now.
In harsh winter weather, Watson Hire have all you need to stay safe and keep warm. There's great deals on coal, Keller gas, firewood and heating oil with free local delivery. Also electric, fan, halogen and oil-filled heaters. See in-store and the fuel store at watsonhire.ie. Great offers on winter clothing and boots. And for any hire items, there's still the weekend hire deal of 3 days for the price of 1. All at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny, with free parking at the door.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
And the time here on Highland Radio is just gone 12:30.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the Mica crisis, and there is indeed an important meeting of Donegal County Council taking place today, and we're awaiting the second redress scheme to be confirmed and for the council to be given clearance to roll that out by the government, and we certainly had hoped to see it before Easter. Consideration now that it might be a little bit later on in the year before that happens, and hopefully that will prove not to be the case. But people who follow this issue on social media will be very familiar with the name Claire McDade. Claire has been posting quite a lot about her own personal experience, and she and Dennis Kelly are also members of Don't Fear the Natives, a band in Inishowen who I first saw a few years ago play in Voodoo in Letterkenny. Claire and Dennis, you're very both welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's our pleasure. Claire, I think I first came across the single being mentioned actually in an article in Hot Press a while back, but you certainly have been very supportive of the Mica campaign, and you have a very personal reason for doing so.
I do have a very personal reason for doing so. My house has defective blocks and we're at a very, very late stage of deterioration. So we're at the point where it's the time that we have to come and move out of our house is coming very close. So we're at the stage where we have to do something. I have to speak. I feel that I have to use my voice in whatever way I can.
You and Dennis sing, as I say, with Don't Fear the Natives, and as you said, you have to do what you can, and your skills lie in music and songwriting, and you have written a song about the experience of Mica, and you're about to launch it. Yes,
well, it's Dennis that wrote the song now. I'm just the singer. But we launched it there on the 22nd, and we're already at number 2 in the iTunes chart, which is incredible, really amazing. So we're trying to push it now to number 1, just really to send a very, very clear message to the government that we've had enough. We're done waiting. We want our houses fixed. We want what we've paid for. And we're hoping that this will give us another way of publicising the campaign and getting support from people.
And in terms of the single itself, obviously, any money that's been raised from it, I mean, you know, that has been earmarked as well.
Absolutely. The money's going towards counselling charities, and that's going to be something that I know myself I've used, and for my children as well. But it's such a stressful, traumatic experience. It's very hard to put it into words, just how difficult the experience is. I mean, when you're in your house at night and you're feeling unsafe, when you don't really want to go home or you don't want anybody to come and visit you, there's a sort of a shame in it as well when the house is mouldy and when the house is crumbling and cracked. And, that stress and trauma, the counselling services will hopefully support people through that.
They say that a song, I think Bruce Springsteen once said, I learned more from a 3-minute record than I ever learned in school. A song can help share an experience, and a song can help bring something to focus that hours and hours of talk can't. Let's hear the song, Dennis. Claire, in your own time, please.
Okay, thank you. Never search your conscience, never share the wealth, but your loss becomes our burden. There's a hill to climb. Before the pain is over, everyone gets burned. In the eyes of the faceless man, there's a call to arms, and a million voices we don't want to hear. 1,000 reasons and the broken hearts. So down the river there's a price to pay, but it's not our doing. Now it's clean-up time. Look at the mess you're making. You turned our lives to hell, and all those lies won't save you. Another soul to sell, turning mothers into numbers, living hand to mouth, and our house is falling down. There's a call to arms, and a million voices we don't want to hear. 1,000 reasons and the broken hearts. So down the river there's a price to pay, but it's not our doing. There's a call to arms, and a million voices we don't want to hear. 1,000 reasons and the broken hearts. So down the river there's a price to pay, but it's not our doing. There's a call to arms. There's a call to arms. We don't want to hear 1,000 reasons. There's a call to arms. We don't want to hear 1,000 reasons. There's a call to arms. We don't want to hear 1,000 reasons.
I have to say, it's an important message, and it's contemporary, and it's of our time, but it's also a great song. Dennis, very well written, very well put together. It's a great song on every level, and Claire sung brilliantly, as always, by yourselves. You've sung that song at many events, I'm sure, already, and you'll probably sing it at a lot more events and on the back of many vans and lorries over the course of the next while. Hopefully not too many. Do you foresee you being put in a situation where you'll be singing that on a lorry in Dublin again?
I think that there's a chance that we might have to go to Dublin again. You know, we have to hold out hope that the government are going to do the right thing. I hope that it doesn't come to us going back to Dublin. I really hope it doesn't, but it's hard to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we're waiting now for the 28th. They really need to do the right thing. I don't know how they sleep in bed at night, knowing that there's really an accident waiting to happen. It's hard not to be emotional about the whole thing. It's hard when you're singing not to be emotional too, because, I mean, there's so many of us affected, and we are trying to sort of speak for everybody that's affected. You know, there's thousands of us, and that storm the other night was terrifying.
And it's funny, I made a comment to my own wife that, I mean, you know, one of the things that's lovely is when you're in bed and you're warm and you're cozy and you hear the wind outside and you just feel, oh, it's lovely being here. That's a pleasure that's very much denied to you and many others.
Oh, absolutely. You're waiting for bits of the house to fall off, and it's or worse. You know, there are people who are really afraid.
A lot of people last night or the other night were just waiting to wake up to a tragedy.
Yeah. And I have to, and I will be honest, and then it struck me because I have a very good friend who's involved in the campaign, whose own home in Letterkenny is affected, and I don't think it's at the point where he's that worried about the structural integrity yet. But you know, he's spoken on the platforms and so on and so forth. And you know, he came into my mind, and I thought, yeah, this is a privilege I have that many are denied, and you know, it brings it back home to people, and I think the storms have in many ways, and I was at a council meeting on Monday and I spoke to a number of people, Martin McDermott and others, about it, and even he was telling me the number of calls he was getting on Sunday night and on Monday morning. You know, he said it was quite frightening, and then the photographs started to come through. Yeah. And it really focused people's minds, I think.
It did focus people's mind, and you know, I couldn't sleep, obviously, and was on all different social media platforms, and that undercurrent of fear and anxiety, but also anger. People are very angry, and rightly so. People should not be left in this situation, and it should never have happened, and they should be doing everything they can to help us. They should be bending over backwards to help us rather than putting blocks in our way.
Right, Claire, Dennis, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
And we'll try and get everyone, just even streaming the song, we'll put it to number one. That's what we really want.
Downloads,
Okie doke.
the whole lot.
And we wish you the best with it.
Thank
and
you.
have a very good
Thanks
day.
for having us.
Right, bye-bye now.
At Creaseless Supermarket, we offer daily specials at our deli with fresh and delicious food to go. Avail of our butcher's weekly specials or choose from a range of healthy options and pre-packed meals, plus many more offers in store. We're open 7 days for your convenience. Creaseless Supermarket, where quality and value is assured.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. New O'Neill's Donegal range in-store and online. Home jersey available in many options for men, women and juniors. New Donegal goalkeeper jersey out now. Donegal O'Neill's Harlem range with new jackets, hats and snoods to help you show your colours. Look the part, play the part. In-store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor offers the most advanced skincare treatments for men and women, treating conditions such as acne, skin tags, rosacea and scarring. As a qualified aesthetics practitioner, Mary Ferry offers a range of anti-aging treatments including dermal fillers, thread lifts, profilo, skin boosters, microneedling and LED light therapy. Hair and makeup also available. Download the Genesis Salon app today or call 07495 325 75.
June 2022, August 2022, January 2023. Is that what you're hearing when inquiring about the delivery of a new vehicle? Guess what? That's not the case at iMotors. Call in today and choose your new car with immediate delivery available across our full range of Nissan and Kia models. Drive away in your new 2022 car. Call iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin on 07491 34567.
Experience the ultimate luxury holiday when you sail with Celebrity Cruises. When you book your Celebrity Cruise with Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny, not only are drinks, Wi-Fi and tips always included, but for a limited time, you'll make huge savings per room and enjoy free flights to Europe. Offer ends the 28th of February. Call Atlantic Travel on 91 26193.
Looking for an easier way to get your prescriptions filled? Look no further. With our new Brennan's Pharmacy app, you have a simpler, faster way to manage your prescription orders. Just download the free Brennan's Pharmacy app from Google Play or App Store, fill in a few simple details about yourself and your medicines, and you're all set. From prescription ordering, daily medicine reminders, to messaging our pharmacy team directly, it's all at your fingertips with our new Brennan's app. Like to know more? Why not call your local Brennan's Pharmacy today for more information? We're here for you.
Want to accelerate the growth of your new business? Entrepreneurs in Derry City and Strabane District Council areas can now apply for a new Startup Accelerator programme. Eligible participants can avail of free professional support, access to incubation facilities and business grants. The programme is open to businesses who are currently on or have recently completed the Go For It programme. To apply, contact your local enterprise office, Enterprise Northwest or Strabane Enterprise Agency. This project is funded by the UK Government through the UK Community Renewal Scheme.
Small businesses often find it difficult to access the finance they need. Microfinance Ireland, the government-funded not-for-profit lender, can help. We help businesses who've been unable to secure finance from banks or other lenders. We provide business loans up to €25,000 to businesses of less than 10 employees with a turnover of up to €2 million. For more information, visit microfinanceIreland.ie or talk to your local enterprise office. Microfinance Ireland, funding small businesses in times of recovery and opportunity.
Central Auto Parts really do stock everything for all makes and models of cars. Shocks, springs, wipers, mats, brakes. Need I go on? And now stocking Celimix and Sunny Car and Commercial Paint. Central Auto Parts, Portlink Road Business Park, Letterkenny. Find us on Facebook or call us on 074 9127 491.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Well, throughout this afternoon and evening, snow showers will become mainly confined to higher ground. It'll be windy with fresh to strong west to southwest winds, potentially turning stormy for a time this afternoon. Highest temperatures 4 to 6, but feeling colder as a result of wind chill. Clear spells and scattered showers of rain or sleet early tonight. It'll become drier as the night goes on, with showers isolated. Cold with minimum temperatures -1 to +2 degrees Celsius. Frost and ice possible. Breezy early in the night with fresh and gusty westerly winds. They'll ease light to moderate overnight. Slightly better prospects for tomorrow, but it'll be a little bit warmer. Cold and dry with sunny spells and frost and ice clearing in the morning. Cloud increasing later with patches of drizzle. Afternoon temperatures 7 to 9. Now, we heard from Claire and Dennis before the break singing their song, which is focusing attention on Micah, and there is a key meeting taking place this afternoon of Donegal County Council's Micah Redress Committee. One of the issues being discussed by the council is the establishment of a facilitation service for Micah families in the county. Joined on the line by Anne Owens of the Micah Action Group, and one of the many voices that we've been hearing a lot of in recent times. Anne, good morning.
Good morning, Donal.
Anne, what's the importance of a facilitation service?
So, Donal, can I say to you in a nutshell that the process of applying for the defective concrete block scheme is definitely not for the faint-hearted. Now, it's Donegal has chosen to put in place a fully digital application form, whereas Mayo has decided to put in place a fully paper or hard, called a hard application form. And I will be advocating strongly that Donegal County Council, amend this to either a hybrid application form, digital and partly paper, or even better still, I would like to see both a digital and or a paper application being introduced that will suit different people with different skills. Can I say that there's 3 stages? So it's a complex application form, and what can we say about that? Everything about this is complex, and each house and each homeowner's in a different situation. But so there's stage 1, which is confirmation of eligibility, stage 2, which is grant approval, and stage 3, payment of grant. Now, in those 3 processes, there a minimum of 21 documents will have to be provided to the processing body within the council, as part of that. And that doesn't include any additional documents that could be required from time to time, known as FI requests or further information requests.
And effectively what we're saying here is that if the council had an office available with advisors, facilitators, people who know the system to give you help and advice, because I mean anyone who's faced with a 21-page application form, as we often are, I mean it can be sometimes hard to make head nor tail of, and the more help that's available to people the better, because I mean the last thing people going through the experience of Micah needs is just to have their heads fried by application forms.
Absolutely, Donal. I would just give you a flavour of the type of skills and resources any applicant would need to have at their fingertips to make any handling of getting through this application, this digital application form. So this is what they would need to have. So they would need to have access to good computer hardware, scanner and printer. They would need to have access to a good broadband service. They would need what I would consider to be high levels of digital literacy, including the ability to type, to scan, to upload and to download documents, and to provide all documents in a portable document form or PDF. You would really need an understanding of the lead document, the IS-465 protocol, which is basically a set of administrative guidelines developed by the National Standards Authority of Ireland as a template document for engineers. You would have to be able to engage and confer with your engineer, with the council processing team, with planners, possibly with a quantity surveyor. You would need to be able to forward plan, for example, dealing with your lender. You know, lots of people are going to be going for demolition, and that's going to increase in the future. So while you're putting in this digital application and you may have to move out of your house, you would have to organise what in the trade is known as an ARA, or an alternative repayment arrangement. So working with your bank to see if when you move out of your house, you're going to be moving into rented accommodation. How are you going to pay your mortgage and do that? So you're going to be, entering into negotiations with your bank, and they're not easy to deal with.
And we know, Anne, that 12 councillors signed an emergency motion on Monday of this week calling on the council to make this service available as quickly as possible. We understand that's going to be discussed at a meeting this afternoon and hopefully a decision taken. Are you in some way encouraged by the fact that the council and the councillors are taking this one so seriously?
Absolutely. Can I just say to you, Donal, that during the working group negotiations last year, homeowners mooted the need for facilitators right to the department and to department staff, and they ostensibly had no issue with providing the funding. I believe these facilitators would be most effective not working outside the council, but working within the council service, streamlined into existing services. And I have advised the county manager on a number of occasions of the need for funding for at least 2 facilitators, just starting off with 2. And we have support pledged. I mean, I have personally got support pledged from all the TDs and all the councillors in the county. Now, Patsy Lafferty, Director of Housing with the council, met with the Department of Housing yesterday in Dublin to discuss the defective concrete block scheme, and the issue of facilitators was very much on the agenda. And can I say, Donal, that Micah homeowners deserve the very best service possible. They have nothing to do with the Micah crisis. This is a scandal of epic proportions, and the very least that homeowners can expect now is a scheme which provides a resolution process which at least minimises the stress they've already been through.
And that's echoing what's been said so often this week and will continue to be said. And thanks indeed, Anne, for speaking to us this morning. And we hope that decision made by council today is implemented quickly, and we'll see the council and indeed the department give this the attention and the priority that it needs. But for now, Anne Owens, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you, Donal.
And thank you. That's Anne there, one of the very prominent voices in the ongoing Micah campaign, and as we say, a key meeting on that issue taking place it's getting underway very shortly actually, and hopefully we will see that progressed. Now I'm going to go to Dr. Paul Stewart, who's the GP in Dunfanaghy. Paul, good morning.
Good morning, Donal.
Now we spoke to you, Paul, we have spoken to you on several occasions in the past about the medical centre in Dunfanaghy, and there was a long campaign to get a new medical centre, and good news this morning.
Yes, excellent news. We're delighted. There was a signature between the HSE and the provider, Glencar Healthcare, just yesterday. So all set to go, and hopefully on site within the month, and that we will be opening the centre within the year. So really excited about it after it was at least, I would say it's 10 years in the planning and the organising and all the rest of it. So it's great news.
One of the key things that primary care centres can do is they can, to a certain extent, minimise the amount of time that people have got to spend going to hospital and allow them get basic treatment, but important treatment, and basic but important services in their own community. And that's going to be, I'm sure, a huge help to many people in that regard.
Absolutely. And in fact, general practice looks after 95% of people's healthcare needs. I don't think people realise that. Hospital is a small part. So we're a big cog in the wheel, and particularly keeping people out of hospital. Now, this centre is over 1,000 square metres, which as you know is pretty big. There are lots of services that are going to be provided in the centre which haven't been easily available in Dunfanaghy up to this, including physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, public health nurses, home health, psychology services, and so on. So it's fantastic, as well as the poor GPs working away in the background as well. So we're delighted.
In terms,
one floor. Sorry, it's a one-floor building. For those of you who know Dunfanaghy, it's going to be nearly opposite the road down to the golf course.
In terms of staffing, obviously, as well as the GPs, there'll be other professionals as there if you are providing physiotherapy, occupational therapy treatments. Will it be a matter of existing staff being seconded for a day at a time from Letterkenny or elsewhere, or will there be specific staff employed that will be able to provide a long-term service in Dunfanaghy?
I'm sorry, I have no idea about that. That will be up to the HSE. The model that people tend to use nowadays is, for instance, if you look at physiotherapy in Falcara, there are at least 2 physiotherapists there full-time, although they would spend maybe 1 day a week in the physiotherapy service in the hospital just to keep rest of things and so on. So that's the sort of usual model nowadays. But these things are all regionalised now, so I just don't know whether there will be permanent staff there all the time or whether people come and go.
In terms of the provision of the centre, as we said, there has been a long campaign to have that centre provided. You were one of those involved in working behind the scenes to make it happen. It must be gratifying for yourself and for others involved in those behind the scenes discussions to finally see the green light given and hopefully this available within the year.
Oh, we're absolutely delighted. I'm actually in the old dispensary building in Pound Street, Dunfanaghy, as I speak to you. It was built in 1954, and with open fires and so on. It's long past its sell-by date. So we can't wait. We can't wait to move in. There's also going to be apparently 2 ambulance bays in the centre, the new centre. So that's a service that we don't have here directly, and so that'd be fantastic for everybody. Give people a great sense of security and so on, knowing that there's an ambulance, 2 ambulance bays now in the town.
Dr. Paul Stewart, thanks indeed for speaking to us this morning, and it's great to get that news, and hopefully before too long we'll see those services up and running in Dunfanaghy. And as we said, the more that can be done to lessen the journeys people have to make to Letterkenny and elsewhere, the better, and the more services available in a local area, the less pressure there is on the hospital. And we had this discussion earlier on in relation to the wider waiting list issue in diabetes, that the more pressure we can take off individual centres, the better it's going to be for everybody. Dr. Paul Stewart, thank you.
And thank you, Donal.
It is our pleasure,
And
it's lovely to be in a situation where a campaign you covered years ago actually does come to fruition. It's actually great to see that happening. So, Paul,
yes,
thank you.
Good news on this day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's pretty much it for the 9 till noon show today. Thank you to all our contributors. Thank you to all of those who got in touch with the show, who left their comments. If your comment didn't get read out today, we will strive to read it out tomorrow. Of course, as always happens, there are more comments than there is time to read them out. Thanks to everyone involved. Most importantly, thank you to Caroline Orr for production and for taking your calls, and thanks indeed to you for listening. John Breslin up next around the Northwest, but for myself, Donal Kavanagh. I'll see you tomorrow, but in the meantime, have a very good day.
Save up to 25% on your shopping at Kelly Centra in Letterkenny. In store, you'll find a huge range of great tasting